Welcome to Soft Drink TV. This is Ian Cummings. If you could tell the audience, your background.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Always interesting to kind of dig back into this era. But yeah, so I was the creative director of the Madden franchise in Madden 10 and Madden 11, and left in the middle of Madden 12. So for those that are the big Madden fans, but I worked at EA from 2000 or 1999, 2000 through then, and I was a producer, designer on Madden 04, Madden 05. Those were my favorite games, and then moved over into the 360 era and worked on gameplay, like a gameplay team through 06 through 08. And then 09 I was working on some other stuff like that didn't ship. But yeah, that was sort of and then came back into the Madden fold for Madden 10, and really was, that was my baby, I guess. The one aside from the 04 or the 05s. 10 was really the one to try and, like, I don't want to say right the ship, but try and get it onto what I felt was the right direction for Madden at the time.
Right. So you left right before Madden 13, when Madden 12 was in development. Many consider 13 the turning point, where franchise mode and offline depth were scrapped for Ultimate Team in online play. And I know you got a lot of community frustration towards the end of your tenure, but I don't think those criticizing you realized how bad things would get. So why did you leave? And did you see that shift towards online play and microtransactions and all of that coming?
Yeah, I mean, so why I left was really just a point of kind of personal frustration. So, under the hood or behind the scenes, I had gotten really into programming. And so I was doing coding and things to try and help my job as a designer. Before I learned how to code and before I was doing all this stuff, I was really kind of beholden to the schedule of tasks and how many engineers were available to help me. And so I wanted to get to the point where I could help myself. And so I got where I was, able to make changes in Madden myself and tune things, create things, add new features. And that was really, really exciting. And on that same trajectory, I was getting promoted and promoted and promoted. And so when you get to be the creative director role, at least at the time, who knows how it is now, I didn't get to work on the game barely at all. I would be in meetings constantly. I would be making PowerPoints constantly. I would be pitching internally, convincing people why we're doing the thing that I thought we should be doing. It was just a lot of overhead, bureaucracy, red tape, whatever you want to call it. Tons and tons of meetings. There'd be days where I had 8 hours straight of meetings, didn't go to the bathroom kind of thing. And so I was just so burned out on that, especially blended with the fact that I had kind of come into my own as a creator. I was feeling like I was at the top of my game for making and tuning, and I couldn't do that thing that I loved. And so I just walked away. It was a tough decision for sure, but I joined a startup with a couple other EA folks as well at the time, and it was a great opportunity to try and get into mobile games and sort of a new innovative area. And that was always sort of my goal eventually, was to start my own studio, which I have now. We do all our horse racing games and all this stuff, but we can get into that at another point. But that was really the point. It was just like a breaking point of enjoyment and burnout. Mm-hmm. Now to your question of did I see microtransactions coming? Yeah. FIFA Ultimate Team had, out of nowhere generated millions and millions of dollars that they didn't have normally. And now every single executive and marketing person was frothy over microtransactions and, new ways to add that. There were meetings all the time, people analyzing Zynga games and trying to figure out how this worked, that worked. But that wasn't why I left. I always thought we could straddle that line fine. I wasn't ever really concerned that we couldn't make a good game if we had microtransactions. But yeah, I definitely didn't fully agree with the vision after I left. That's for sure.
I saw a rumor that said EA asked you to return on the Madden team around 2017. Is that accurate?
EA didn't. No, if you want to call it EA, but there were definitely people that I know and friends that were like, please come back. And would you consider coming back and help? And I was like, no, never.
So nothing formal.
No, I didn't get like a job offer or anything like that. But there were definitely people on the team that were like, we could really use your help, do this kind of thing. So yeah, and I don't even think those people are there anymore.
So when you were working on Madden 04, Madden 05, what was it like competing with NFL 2K back then, before the exclusive license, when you had another game being made in competition with you guys?
It's interesting. Like, I think a lot of people have assumptions one way or the other. And so it's good to set the record straight, I guess. I'll tell you my perspective. Like, we really didn't care. I know that sounds like weird and aggro or cocky, but we didn't look at the other games very much at all. Now, like, at the end of each year, I remember, or the beginning, I guess, of each year, I would definitely spend a lot of time playing 2K to just see, is there anything that they did that was awesome? We'd read reviews, but we outsold them so much back then that there was sort of this culture of like, whatever, they can do what they want. Like, it was cool, it was fine. So there wasn't this like tooth and nail, aggressive, like, hatred back and forth. I'm sure that the 2K team was like major chip on their shoulder because of that, because we were sort of like aloof, right? That we didn't really care that much. I would definitely, so my focus a lot in those days was definitely around animation and gameplay. I did a lot of the motion capture for Madden in those days. And so I always was very interested in how 2K was doing a lot of stuff. I always thought their gang tackling was just really, really good. A lot of their route running, passing animations were all like really, really good. So I definitely was inspired, I suppose. Those would give me areas to look at where I'd be like, oh man, that looks really great. Why does ours not look like that? I mean, you think about, this is like in Madden 04, this is the first time I've ever worked on as a designer of a game. So you're kind of like, what are they doing? Like, how does that work? There's a lot of learning. And so, yeah, they definitely inspired some of the areas like that. But in terms of the core gameplay, like, we always loved the feeling of Madden. Everyone on the team used to play Madden in college, like, very competitively against each other. We were just really focused on the product. We loved the product. So it wasn't like we were super concerned or, trying to worry about them. And, that $20 price point and them launching earlier than us in 2K5, that was the first time I feel like anyone on the team was like, wait, what's going on? Who are these? There were a lot of people that barely knew. we were so much bigger. You have to think, I think we were outselling them 10-1, at the time. So it was just one of those things that was like no different than game day or whatever. It was just yet another non-worry. And once they did that, I do remember people being like, oh, geez, that's cool, and a lot more people looking at it. But, I've said this before in other interviews, like, I wasn't privy or had any idea about the exclusivity or anything. And I mean, literally, I saw it on the internet and I was like, oh, what? Like, that it had happened. I had no idea. And I remember thinking, like, what's that for? Like, what? Okay. I just it wasn't like, yes, finally, we buried those guys. And again, it just wasn't. And I know that probably ruffles a lot of 2K people's feathers, but you just have to think, like, at the time, Madden was absolutely killing it. I mean, these were 90-plus rated games. They outsold every other major game release. We were like the top game in America. So it wasn't a big concern what 2K was doing for me and the team of designers, I suppose, from my perspective.
So after 2K5 came out, and then you guys signed that exclusive license, did you feel like there was a duty you guys had to, kind of cater Madden a bit more towards people that played 2K and preferred it and were upset with the exclusive license? Because I know with games like Madden 10 and 11, you added the extra point, which seemed to be similar to the weekly recap show in 2K5, and it seemed like there was a lot of presentation elements in those two games specifically that were trying to kind of close that gap, because 2K5 did a lot of presentation stuff that Madden 05 didn't do at all, as I'm sure you're aware. Did you feel like Was that a reason you guys added the extra point, and were you guys trying to kind of do everything 2K5 had done, but more modern?
That's a good question. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously in 05, 06, there's sort of these two timelines of craziness, right? So 06, 360 through 09 were a blur and kind of disastrous. And, most everyone knows that at least from my standpoint, it was extremely difficult and major burnout and really hard. And so, I don't think anyone cared at all about 2K5 from those years, because they were like, how the hell do we dig ourselves out of this hole, that has happened? Like, or how do we put out the fires? And the Madden 10 year, which was, my first year as creative director, I definitely wanted to recenter the franchise on like kind of a love letter to the sports gaming fans, is the way to put it. So extra point, all the way the gameplay felt, higher levels of presentation, banners, fight for every yard. Just trying like everything I could to try and say like, hey, this game is for you. We love you. Come on back now. And whereas it did feel like it was really just all over the place before then. So yeah, it's whether it's 2K fans or not. I don't think I really like did too much research on the like Berman show to when we were making Extra Point. We were just trying to like make it more of a modern. Like we worked with ESPN. Like I went to the ESPN studio and watched how they produced those shows and stuff. So we were trying to just make it awesome. I guess it fell short. But it was a good start. It's unfortunately, isn't it all gone now? I haven't seen.
Yeah, in Madden 12, they took out the extra point, and they really never tried again until this year. They're adding like a Scott Hansen in Madden 26 type of recap show, but we'll see how the execution is on that.
Yeah.
Did you try back then to add like highlights? Were you guys aware that 2K5 was showing highlights around the league in their show?
Yeah, I loved that. I do remember that. I remember seeing that and being like, "Oh man, this is killer." And that was a pretty big tech limitation at the time of Madden, if I remember right. That it was just like, man, that can't really happen. Like basically loading team uniforms and all the other stuff while the current team is loaded was just like every engineer telling me like, nah, no way. This is not like 2K did that so fast too. I remember that. Like, I just remember being gobsmacked. I'm like, oh my God, how are they doing this? Like they're loading up clips from other games and it's dynamic. It's not like a video. It's literally the players that are there in franchise 10 years in. And yeah, so they did some magic there that they figured out that the Madden dev team was like, probably not worth the time. So, I mean, that's the thing on all these things. Like, people don't realize, like, a lot of times they're not, it's not like it wasn't thought of or ignored or people just, weren't going to do it. It's really like prioritization of time. You go in and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's going to take like 6 weeks to figure out how to change our entire loading pipeline of textures and players and in order to do this system. And so then as a designer, you're kind of like, all right, well, is that worth cutting XYZ? You're always having to decide. And so you just go, oh, no, maybe not. I'd rather do this. I'd rather add this feature. So yeah, and no one outside of the team has that visibility of the prioritization. And so they end up thinking, oh, Madden team is stupid or they're lazy. But it's like, no, it was just technically not a super feasible thing to do at the time.
Did you guys at EA hire anyone from the 2K5 like development team after that game?
Yeah. I was shocked, but I think it happened around E3 that year. So Brandon Justice was the main guy. He was a designer on 2K5. I don't know about any engineers. I don't think any engineers came over. But Brandon, I remember once they got the exclusive, they brought him over, and he was like one of the lead designers on Madden 06 360. So when I joined Madden 06 360, it was like a year already plus into development. Like they'd been working on it for a while. And Brandon, along with Jeff Lure, had been doing all the designs for that game. So I was like, oh, they hired a 2K5 guy to help make Madden 06 360. I mean, I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. And then once I got over to the team, I was like, oh, God, screwed. Yeah. But yeah, they did hire a designer. But yeah, I don't, no engineering that I know of.
So I know you've talked about this before, but if you could just briefly, talk about the issues with Madden 06's development and the complications there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a multitude. it's a huge amount of discussion and stuff, but like at its core, it was really a sort of an instance of leadership team thinking that it was the opportunity to redo and fix and rebuild everything. So not just certain tiny parts of the game, but literally the whole thing. So you get this combo of like, all right, we're going to literally delete Madden. We're going to start with a brand new, fresh project. They wanted to redo the tech. The old Madden was in C. They're going to do C++. They're going to redo the animation engine and share something with FIFA as opposed to things that they had custom. They're going to redo the UI engine from something custom to use Flash so they could hire new people. And, so you end up with this like major, and then of course 360 itself was a switch from, normal textures to shaders and all these new graphics techniques, like a major change from a engineering standpoint. And then you couple that with the fact that like the 360 hardware was kind of garbage for a long time. We couldn't test. Our machines were like blowing up, burning down kind of thing. The red ring stuff was happening. And so you end up in this thing where like they feel like they got a lot of time to kind of try and innovate on literally every area of the game. And before anyone realizes it, there's like 9 months left and there's nothing done. And you're just like hosed. And so you end up like porting a lot of the old stuff over. A lot of the animation engine stuff wasn't ready. The franchise wasn't ready. They're like trying to do it from scratch, but didn't have enough time. And then tons, and just to get it out the door was nightmarish, like absolute death march for months and months and months and months. And so then what happens when you do that? Of course, you end up with like bad stuff that you have to work around in following years. Because there's all these hacks that were made to make it work, just to get it out the door. And so, yeah, it was awful. I mean, just every bit of awful. Like it was so beaten down from that year, especially compared to how fun and amazing 04 and 05 were. Even though I was working extremely hard on 04 and 05, 06 was not rewarding in the slightest. It was heinous, absolutely heinous. Yeah, so. It sucks too that it was timed with the exclusive, because a lot of people think like, oh, EA. I remember like there were X-Play reviews or whatever. Like, EA has given up. They got the exclusive and they're giving up.
Right.
It's like, no, I worked harder this year than I ever have in my life just to get this turd over the line. To get it shipped. It was really, really, really hard. So yeah.
So what would you have needed to make that game, as ideal as you would have liked? Like, did you just need more time? Did you need more resources from and who was making the decision to kind of remake the game from scratch, if that was over your head?
Yeah, it was kind of a studio wide feeling that Madden had dominated so strongly the PS2 transition because of the jump that it made graphically. Like if you remember, Game Day was actually beating Madden out on the PSX. And the PS2 jump, the graphic jump and everything about it was such a massive gameplay, of course. It just really dominated. And so I think that was the idea. Like, we're going to do this again. We're going to make a huge jump. And if you go look at some of those old articles, the team that they hired early, before all of us sort of core Madden team came over, a lot of these people were, get studio leadership hired these folks. They were like Disney people, Disney animators and Disney movie creative directors and stuff, like really smart, visually great people. But they didn't care or know about Madden franchise or, right, the owner mode. And so a lot of effort went into the thing like that early Madden trailer, with the crazy in-depth snow and the McNabb, Strahan trailer that was all fake, like all a big like 3D pre-render. And you end up with this like expectations are now like, oh wow, this game is going to be this. This game is going to be Any Given Sunday, a movie. They're going to have radio announcers from every single stadium. The scope was just unreal. And so you end up with like this way, way, way out of scope, and then now way too late to do anything about a problem. So, I mean, if anyone looked back and said, what should they have done differently? It would have probably been to do the FIFA model, which is keep shipping the current gen style, like just port it until the next gen is ready. As opposed to like forcing the next gen one to be the ship title because it wasn't ready. And, like FIFA shipped a year later using the same tools that Madden had to ship with. And those tools weren't ready. I mean, there was at one point like we had added, 20-30% of the animations into the game, and the animation tool crashed and corrupted all of it. Had to re-add all of it from scratch. There were like things like that was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? And so that decision of someone at the top, I don't know who, the studio head, was it Steve Chang? Was it the executive producer, Jeremy? Was it Jeff Lure? Someone on the thing said, if someone there would have said like, look, this is just like way too much scope. What we should do is just port Madden as it is, just bring it over, upgrade the graphics, but everything about it is the same. I think that would have been a hard sell internally at EA because they were thinking, Madden was going to be this crazy new innovative thing now because of those trailers. But if they had done that and then they just said like, look, we'll just keep iterating on the engine underneath until it's ready, ideally 07, everything would have been totally different, right? I mean, just such a different world if that had happened. And that's what happened with FIFA. They came out in 07 with the ball disconnected, the ball physics, and they never looked back. It was like they didn't have this sort of tech debt and problems introduced from trying to motor out an unfinished engine in 06. They shipped a port in 06. It was reviewed terribly. Everyone hated it, but it was like, we don't care. We're focused on 07, right? And that was the time you needed it because it took 2 to 3 years to basically build a brand new game out of a new engine. And Madden tried to do it in this 2 to 3 years, but they spent the first 2 years not on the right stuff, I suppose, right? Just not on the core engine, but on previs cinematic, art stuff. So yeah, it's there's a lot of lessons I learned from that product for sure, because it was getting it shipped. I mean, I've said the story before, but like, I think it's even in the Madden documentary. I think 6 weeks prior to shipping, there were still like every player in the game was like a fat lineman with a Brett Favre head. I mean, it was like we were 6 weeks away, and it was like you're just playing the entire game with all linemen, fat Brett Favre linemen. We had the only player head we could load, the only player model we could load. I was like, oh boy, we're gonna make it.
So that kind of reminds me of NBA 2K6 versus NBA Live 06, where
absolutely
2K6 they just kind of ported over the gameplay, made it prettier. NBA Live 06 was a disaster built from scratch. So that makes me wonder, had there not have been an exclusive license back in that time, if an ESPN NFL 2K6 had released, could they have perhaps surpassed Madden at that point if they were able to continue existing?
I don't. It's hard to guess for sure, but I sure think that if ESPN 2K5 had just come out with a newer version of it with 2K6, it would have absolutely destroyed Madden that year. Right? I mean, there's no way to, like, because Madden had nothing. Like, all the features were gone. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? Like, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Like, if ESPN 2K6 had come out that same year, like, it would have been a bloodbath.
So that butterfly effect of that exclusive license,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. It's almost why
Right.
we're where we are today in a sense.
And I wonder too, but like it's hard to even think about. Like, just think back. Like, if they hadn't got the license, would the EA people have been as risk forward of redoing the whole game engine?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Right? That could have been another thing. If they didn't have that license, would they have been like, no, 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 don't. That's too risky to just tear the whole thing out. You know, we gotta make sure that we can ship and stay on par. I don't know. That's the other way too. They maybe never decided to start from scratch. And sort of throw out the entire old game engine. So,
Well,
yeah,
2K6 didn't stop NBA Live 06 from doing that though.
yeah. I mean but that was the turning point of the NBA series for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they never recovered, and then they had this sort of series of disastrous, like, all right, let's try and redo it again because 2K's eating our lunch, and then they've never obviously the total train wreck since then.
So you left during the development of Madden 12, right?
Yeah.
Right. So was there internal discussions about prioritizing Ultimate Team going forward, or was there resistance from the development team when discussing removing features like, create a play, create a team, the in-depth like owners mode and franchise? Was that even like discussed at that point in time?
Well, definitely not with me. I mean, I know a big part of my pitch when I first started as creative director was like, the reason we're struggling is because we keep removing things. And so I think I was one of the first there at Tiburon to like show a 3-year plan. Madden was always yearly, reset yearly. And I had seen FIFA's strength, and their creative director I'd met with quite a bunch. His name's Gary Patterson. Super smart guy, hyper gameplay focused. And I just seen every year, it was so frustrating to me. FIFA's tagline or FIFA's core marketing angle was always, let's FIFA or can you FIFA? It was like, and the whole marketing around that was just like, let's just play the game. Like, we're going to add improvements to the game engine. The gameplay is going to be awesome. And then they would slowly add, online team play or things that were still core playing the game. Whereas it felt like Madden was just like wildly, there was in '09 was really my breaking point of like, I was going to quit because I was so upset with the game direction. And it was just this sort of like, you could order a ring from Jostens. There was this temple of like invisible players with a disembodied John Madden teaching you how to play. And
Yeah.
it was just like, really, if you remember that era, I'm just like, what? And there was weapons. There were all these icons under the players all the game. And I was just like, what is this? Like, where are we? It's like Fortress of Solitude sort of thing. I'm like, and I just like, I couldn't get my head around it. And so, a big part of then going into Madden 10 was like, here's the plan for the next 3 years. It was like, we're gonna tackle real ragdoll physics, but we're gonna start that now. It's gonna take a long time. We're not gonna try and ship it this year. We're gonna try and redo the engine that builds franchise mode, so that franchise and superstar and every online franchise can all share one tech stack, so they can all improve at the same time. That's gonna take 3 years. There was a lot of like things that I was trying to kick off. And everyone was all down for it and super into it. But it was sort of weird to see, like, I don't know what happened after I left. Like, did they just abandon it? Or did they, but that was the hope that we would have effectively the way, we were inspired a lot by the way Call of Duty was sort of shipping, which is, every 2 years, a different team is shipping, something new. And it was like, of course, it's a different beast, but it was like Madden has so many initiatives at the time, it felt like, that needed more than one cycle. And so we needed teams to be able to breathe and try things and get it right, as opposed to being under the gun and having 3 months to finish it. And then that's it, and so that was things like Ragdoll or, better physics or better franchise that were like, we carved out a team and said, all right, they're going to ship next year, or they're going to ship 3 years from now. And so it was just kind of frustrating then to find out and see like, oh, I guess they didn't even do any of that. I don't know where did those teams go? Where did all that work go? I don't really know. Of course, I didn't stay in contact with anybody on that stuff once I left. So yeah, in terms of like, back to your core question of like online, it's hard to know like the initiatives of the dev team after I left. I don't know if they have a 3-year plan. I don't know if they are focused on new sales, old sales, subscriptions. I just don't know what they focused on. For me, it was always like I wanted a game that was really highly retaining, like a game that you kept in your console.
Yeah.
And I wanted to sell the max amount of copies because I wanted that day one hit. People, showing up at the GameStop at midnight. That's what I wanted. But I don't know what the directive is anymore. If it's microtransactions or if it's subscriptions, I don't know anymore.
So what power does a creative director actually have at EA?
That's a good question. Oh man, I just miss this game so much. It's so fun to play this.
Right.
That's some good gang tackles there. That's pretty good. I don't know how it is now, but I can kind of at least guess. But back in Madden 10, it was really I created lots of PowerPoints to convince people this was the way. And so I spent a lot, like weeks, months, creating PowerPoints to show to studio leadership and EA leadership, this is the direction for Madden for this year and for the next 3 years. And here's why. There was a lot of like, well, what's going to be different, or this kind of thing. Why would you do it that way? Why would you do it this way? And for the most part, got greenlit on this, like, the core concept in 10 was a love letter to the fans. Let's get back to what made Madden, amazing. Let's go really heavy into all the nostalgia. Let's go into the, the gameplay itself. Got the 2 players on the cover. We can do offense and defense, all that stuff. So it was like a lot of that was my thing with my team, of course, with my design team. And, then you'd get 3 months in and someone would go, someone from top on marketing be like, oh, we got to have something on the right stick. And you're like, what? And you're like, NBA's doing this thing with the right stick. If you remember, this was the big, like, that was NBA Elite, right? 10?
Elite 11, yeah.
Elite 11, yeah. Okay, yeah. So they're just doing this, like, they got this thing where, like, one of them just saw it in a meeting. I saw where you could, like, switch hands with the right stick. We got to do something like that in Madden. And I'm like, I don't think so. That doesn't really make any sense.
And did those marketing guys have more of a say than you?
Yeah. And so you get ramrodded on a few of those things of like, and that was always my big frustration point. I'm like, why does FIFA get away with let's FIFA, but on Madden we have to have some weird mechanic like that's just out of nowhere? Why? Who says that this is what it is? And it was like, well, we have to have something to sell it. It's got to be something on the box. This was always the argument that, not just me, my design team, production team, everybody would have with, marketing or leadership or what have you. And so it's always push and pull. And so, did I have control of that game? A lot of control for sure. Right. As creative director, like I was making prioritizations all the time, cutting things, adding things, that type of stuff. And, if you step back and think about it, that's pretty wild. Like that they're just trusting hundreds of millions of dollars to me. And I'm like, no, we need to film a 3D extra point set, and we got to have the talent, and we need to get them booked. And they're like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's like that stuff is pretty wild. So I always felt like it wasn't that bad with how big the franchise was, but there were times when it would make me just mental. The sort of obsession with having to add a new flashy mechanic that to me was never going to stick. And that was always the thing of like, it's just going to show up next year and it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
These things aren't, they don't have longevity. Like when, after I left and I saw Long Shot, I was like, wow, awesome. I love Mike Young. He's my favorite. Long Shot was great. And all I could think about is like, well, boy, you got to update that every year now. Like, oh my God, like, how are you going to, there's no way. Like how much time because that's what happens as Madden gets all these things bolted onto them. Every one of those things is probably someone's favorite thing in the audience. And now it's like, well, shit, we don't have time to update the little like weird superstar mode that we did, or didn't they do like a weird like 6-on-6 or 7-on-7 thing where people are wearing weird outfits? Is that still in the game? I haven't even looked.
Yeah, there was the Superstar KO, and then there was the Yard. And now it's called something else, I think. Superstar Showdown. They keep changing it, taking it out, re-adding it.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, what those aren't core to the game. They're just random ideas that someone thought we should do, and we'll market the game off of it. And so, therefore, you're adding more and more and more things that require time and effort the next year to update, to change, to improve. Otherwise, the people that liked it think that you're lazy, that you didn't do it. And then that takes resources away from the core, which the core is franchise, or the core is superstar, or the core is gameplay. You know, those things all little people get taken off on to do these other things. Oh crap, that's right. We got to, because it can be little things too. It can be things like, oh, the art, the logo art changed with the Redskins or something. And then it's like, that adds this huge waterfall of all the things that you've added over time have to now go get updated. So, you know, it's just, yeah. So there's a lot of control, but at the same time, there's annoyances, you know, like and a lot of disagreement on certain things. And it can be very demoralizing. You know, they can definitely suck the wind out of your sails because they do tend to override certain things. If that answers your question.
Yeah. So something else I've been curious about, did the NFL have to approve everything you guys did? And how much control did they have over Madden's direction?
They did. And that was the case from the beginning. That wasn't different from the exclusive. Like anytime towards the end of the year, you know, it would be a big effort to package up. You know, you had to take screenshots of every team. We had all these automated tools and stuff, right? So that they could verify that everything was kind of, you know, on par. We would have, you know, tons of gameplay footage, you know, things like that they would approve. There was rarely any like, you know, major pushback or changes. I do remember helmets popping off.
Yeah.
They were like, get that out of there, you know, and that was specifically them. And then in Madden 10, if you remember that game, I did do a lot of work with the team on injuries. You know, we wanted to make this sort of risk reward thing around if you get hurt, can you keep playing hurt? You know, that, but you have this other risk. And I think we had like a cutscene of them going off on the stretcher, you know, giving the thumbs up,
yeah,
in the neck brace, and they were like, no, like get that out of there. We're like, okay, fair enough.
Oh, that sucks. That would have been cool.
That's so bad though, dude. You don't need to highlight that. Was like guy in traction on the way off the field. But like, so all we did is we made him sit up and give the thumbs up, you know, and it was like, so that was like that type of stuff I never got mad about. Is like, yeah, that's their brand. They want to protect it. Obviously they were having a lot of, they always struggle with like various image problems that may come up, you know? And so those types of things never bother me. It's like, again, it's a really big brand. And for that to only be the feedback, like, hey, maybe don't show someone being paralyzed in the video games. Like, all right, cool. No problem. I got you. But yeah, outside of that, it really was never, they didn't have much say, I mean, obviously input, they had suggestions or things like that, but it was always me versus marketing and never me versus the NFL.
That's interesting because a lot of people like to blame the NFL for like why things aren't in Madden today. They say it would take too much time for them to approve it. So it sounds like that's not necessarily the case.
Like what kind of thing you think?
Just like adding back like a stadium editing tool or like create a team in game and things like that. Or
create
equipment.
Now, create a team. I do remember that was a funny one actually, which was, it wasn't the NFL. I think it was an owner. It was like we did we did owner mode, and you could move, right? You could move the Raiders to, Mexico City or something. But I think, I don't remember if it shipped it or not. I could go look and see, of course. But like, if you could maintain that Raiders logo and then change the colors, I remember there's someone being pissed about that, which it should be. But it was like, if you could have a pink Raiders in Mexico City, they were not like Al Davis was like, hell no, or whatever. If that's, I'm trying to remember exactly. It was obviously
that sounds accurate from what I've heard.
But that makes sense. Again, like, it's just all about protecting the brand. It's not about really, in terms of a creative stadium or editing or making new teams. Like, nah, they don't care about that.
So that's interesting because as soon as you left, they got rid of create a team, create a stadium, and replaced it with just relocation presets, where you picked a team like the Desperados that was already made by EA. You couldn't customize any part of the jersey or the stadium. And people like to blame the NFL for that and kind of shift blame away from EA, but it seems like that was EA's problem.
No, it's probably a scope. I mean, obviously, create a stadium is a very difficult feature to build, to have all the right models and changes and things like that. So that I could see them just going, it's not worth it. Let's just do presets. But then, the team editor, that again is likely scope time rather than the NFL. Like, I can't imagine. Like, now the NFL definitely they don't want to see, phallic logos that people hand create.
Right.
It's the way to say that. They don't want that in the game, and Madden doesn't either. So there's always going to be that, like, hey, we're not going to let like pure user-generated content into this highly branded exclusive NFL title. Like, you're not going to have the Giants playing the dildos.
Yeah.
But the other stuff, like, the EA absolutely could get the NFL to approve a system that has certain limitations. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's just the time to build the feature, I think. I would assume. Yeah.
So when it comes to the gameplay, did you guys have a clear vision for Madden as a simulation game, or did some people want it to lean more arcade for accessibility? Like, was there a long-term vision in terms of gameplay style, or was that like a year-to-year decision?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that, like, there was really an identity crisis for a bit there, and it feeling like Madden, it feeling responsive, or feeling like ultra simulation. And I'll speak to Madden 10. I mean, that was like everyone in the game knew, and we all were aligned on, this game is going to be a sim. Like, we were timing 40 times. Everything we wanted this thing to be dead on accurate in every single way that we could. We wanted weather to affect the game. We wanted, like fumbles, all the percentages to be right. And so I think that was always, from 10 and 11, that was really for sure like a focus. And I think about the 05s, the 04s, even, we were really not trying to make it arcadey, just trying to make it fun. Like, it had such a good underlying physics engine already that we didn't really even think about it. It was like, we're going to keep this how it is, and we're going to add more and more animations. We're going to keep adding gang tackling and better passing and better, like, that was really the focus back in that era, because the core physics engine felt great. And so the sort of notion of like catering to the tournament player versus a hardcore sim guy, we would have leaned always towards hardcore sim guy in my era. But the problem was there were too many flaws in the core sim engine and animation and physics engine that would ruin the game, because the tournament guys were so good at exploiting it.
Right.
And then now you start like, oh god, we gotta like band-aid this and change this and do this. That's really the core. And I could look a little bit here. This might be an interesting way to look at this. I've wanted to sort of talk about this for a long time, and it's it's hard to explain, but it might be good for your audience. They might sort of dig into this, so we'll try it. But so you're looking at this old Madden now, and I'll get Eddie George here and just start running around. So you can sort of feel the sluggishness. You can feel the speed movement, going back and forth as I'm running here. Mm-hmm. And then I've got, I'll do a couple like jukes or something, Okay. So, hopefully I get a replay. So it's important to think about this era of Madden, basically the PS2 Madden, as this guy. Try to imagine that Eddie's not there, and instead just look at that circle underneath him. That's actually what's moving. Mm-hmm. When I'm moving the controller around, that circle, if you just stare at it, that is the core physics engine that your controller is pushing around. And so what happens there is that there's a constant physical model that has determined that, like, okay, if I'm running this way at this speed and I want to go that way, it's going to slow itself down and move in the other direction. And so then what happens, though, of course, is, like, people complained a lot, is like his feet slide. Because now, if you think about this, there's just all I'm controlling with my controller is that orange circle. And then the Madden team's job is to try and make Eddie's model look as realistic as possible to follow that circle. And so he's just playing animations floating in space. Like, he's not anchored to anything. His core, like his center, is just hovering over that orange circle. And so it's all about trying to get the animations to look good, but there's tons of sliding. You see all these like warps and slides and whatever. And, he's moving at a rate animation-wise that might not look realistic. But the orange circle feels awesome. The player moving feels awesome because the core of this that people should know, the animation is not moving the player. The underlying physics engine is moving the player. The controller is moving the player. And then, that means we can tune how much the controller's input moves him. How fast? How fast does he accelerate? How fast does he decelerate? How fast does he turn? How fast does he not turn? And then, how fast does a spin move? How much does it move? Like when I click the spin move, you can see it sort of like comes to a halt, then sort of speeds up a little bit. That all of that is done under the animation. So you could basically play Madden if you wanted. In this era, you could remove Eddie George's model and you could actually play the game. The problem then on the current engine, which FIFA invented, basically. I mean, tons of games use this. It's not like FIFA, but it was FIFA's engine, which was the
Frostbite engine.
Well, it was actually called Ant back then, and Frostbite came from DICE, and then they called it Ignition. They all make these things up. They're not real. It's the whole core down at the bottom is that the animation moves the player, not the cylinder, not the circle underneath. The animation moves the player, and so that animation has movement baked into it. That character taking those steps moves that many steps in the game. And effectively then, you have to be like hyper perfect when you animate things, that their feet move the correct distance for, like, say, a max speed player, and then you slow the animation down a little bit or whatever for a slower speed player. But what happens then is that there's no really good underlying physics model underneath to maintain momentum as well as it did back then. And if you can get up videos, I'm sure you could show it, or we could find some of the current Madden engine. Mm-hmm. It's the thing that drives me nuts about it the most, that they still haven't addressed. And I think it'd be one of the biggest things is, like, if you put some sort of momentum back into the engine underneath and you tried to play animations on top of this dot, this circle, you would not have these issues of players accelerating and moving through at unrealistic rates. Like, you can watch players right now in almost every play in Madden now, or college, where they run their route, they come out of the route, and they just warp and immediately snap to like a new angle at full speed. And it's like no momentum was preserved because they're just playing that animation right there, and they're snapping into the new animation state, which is also an animation. And there is physics, of course, underneath, but it's not the same as this physics, which is like one true physics model. It's basically a series of these things moving together. And that's why you get such janky accelerations and decelerations. And like they come out of a broken tackle and then they speed up really fast, or a defensive back is backpedaling and then he just warps over here. It's like because the animation is moving him, not the underlying core physics model. And that's why Madden feels so good back then. I still like this idea of like, yes, it doesn't look perfect. Like his feet slide. He is sliding, right? During that thing. But I feel like you could probably fix that in modern technology and keep the system rather than like forcing this animation to push him around. So anyway, that's one of the like bigger problems, that because that is the way the gameplay works, the way the game moves, that it's really hard then to even choose sim or hardcore or sim or tournament, because it's like just certain little animations can like throw the whole thing out of sync. And I wonder if I can even show like a good example of like create a play back then.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see a little about let's see, features. You can probably playbook maybe. Sure. The playbook guys, and this is what I talked to you on Twitter about a little bit. It's like they have these effectively, you know, they're drawing up the play, and they're setting everything about the. Let's talk about a receiver, for example. They're setting every little move that this guy's going to make, and it's not that dissimilar from. Sure, let's just do this one. Than this system. Oops, nope. Go back. Create a play. Pass play. Oh man, this is wild to see. All right, so let's say I'm a play designer guy on the Madden team, and I'm like, I want to do, you know, a route here where I'm going to go cut 90 left, right? I just chose, I want to cut 90 left, but I'm actually going to go right. Right? Oh, wait. Get open. So can I test this? See what it looks like. Can I replay that? Oh, damn it. I can't replay it. Shit. Let's see. Well, we'll watch it again. Let's test it again. So if you watch him in this, let's look over here. Oh, damn it. I just audibled him. Hold on. No. What is he doing? Start over.
Oh, like auto a kick.
Play. Like, what the hell? All right. It's been a while. All right. It's been 20 years. Give me some break. Test play. Let's try it again. Now look over here. All right. Hilliard. So he's gonna play a left turning cut move, right? And then he's gonna turn right. He's gonna run right. So like that is a perfect example of an unguardable play. Effectively. Because he's kind of like breaking all of the assumptions of everyone on the field. So the play designers have this control of accidentally breaking the whole game, because he's doing something that is not really ever designed to have been done. And it's barely an issue in this Madden, and it's a massive issue in the current one.
Right.
Because that animation, you know, he starts to cut left, for example, in that animation. The defensive back is alerted that he's cutting that way. His little brain is going, okay, should I cut with him? You know, whatever they're like, what's my awareness? What's my press? All those ratings calculations. Okay, he's cutting that way. all right, I'm going to pick a cut too. I'm going to cut that way. I'm going to move towards him. But then in the wrong direction, the physics can move entirely in a different way because a new animation plays. And that is what typically happens. And that's where almost all the exploits happen in each Madden each year, is some little tiny little off. Like you could just tag it wrong. It could be off by 20 degrees. It could be, like it doesn't have to be a big deal. But the play designer guys are putting out thousands of new plays each year. And the underlying physics engine is not preventing them from making game-breaking massive exploit things that hardcore and tournament players can use. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If that's all making sense. So it's like if it was more like this year, where at the very least you saw he cut left, but he did decelerate and it was harder for him to turn back the other direction. Like, of course, he's spinning, because they didn't have cuts back then and all this type of thing. But it's a much better underlying physics model than the current one.
Right.
If this exact scenario happens, like, he's open every time. And it happens on almost every play, not in this extreme where it's like cut left, turn right, but it's like an animation happens and he has to go to the next animation and it's off and they will accelerate too quickly. Like, go watch, like a fumble in Madden or something, and like you'll see these players accelerating to twice or three times their normal speed to play an animation to go pick the ball up. And it's just like, what the hell? It's just like, because there's not a core underlying circle cylinder moving them around, the animations can really like totally change and break the game. And that's the part that if I was there, that's the one thing I would fix. That would be the number one thing I would fix, is change the underlying core physics to be like momentum based. And I wish they would do this. I hope they watch this and they'd be like, yeah, maybe we should finally tackle that.
Right.
Like, just make the core underlying controller, all the players, if they all use normal momentum all the time, and it didn't matter what the play design did, and the play design routes or any of that stuff mattered, that would be awesome. I would love it.
So that explains why the game nowadays feels so animation-based and why you're constantly getting sucked into things and you feel like you lose control. And it's also why plays like Why Shallow Cross, which is what I was talking about on Twitter, the in routes, the out routes, they're just, you can't really, the CPU can't guard them. They can't keep up with the guy when he makes the cut.
Yeah. I don't know if I could pull that one up or whatever. If you have a video link to one of those, we could look at it. We could do that, I suppose. We could just look at YouTube or
a route.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it almost identically here on. Look at the speed difference of 17 when he catches this, snapping into a different speed after he comes out of that catch animation. It's like he's not really normally accelerating. Like if I looked at that, if I had some sort of speed overlay display on every character in Madden, like you would see these low snap up new speed things. There's never this sort of gentle acceleration and deceleration. So we'll see if we can find some other clips, but like there you could almost, I could see it at least on 17. It might be a little harder.
No, you can see it, that instant acceleration that just comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, hard to watch on that one. What was happening? All right, here we go. New player types and abilities. We'll find a good example.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. See if we can watch a guy coming out of a route.
They're kind of cutting it up here. Maybe we could just look at my review where I just kind of have B-roll gameplay. They like to cut these up to kind of hide things.
Yeah, they know what I'm looking for. Physics-based tackling. Give me a break. What does that mean?
But yeah, they advertise every year that it's now like more physics-based or it's physics-based, and it's obviously not physics-based.
Yeah. I mean, they do their best. Like, they're trying, but it's the core underneath that doesn't work right. Like they're trying their best to smooth out the transition between animation to animation. Yeah, so I mean, in that case, like we could break that one down. I mean, specifically what's happening there. He plays a cut animation, and it looks like the defender rolled his, like, you know, awareness or his, you know, man coverage rating or whatever low. And so he just specifically, like, played a cut animation super late. Like you can see right there. Doink! He plays his cut animation, which is like the moment that cut animation starts, like he's kind of out of the play. Like, you know, like he's sort of like, oh, I got to finish this before I can do something else. And then, you know, then you end up seeing him there at the end. Of course, like this is different. He had his back turned. He shouldn't have seen this. Like, I don't even know why he ever changed. I guess maybe somebody on the team was like, ball. You know, that would be one of the reasons. But yeah, you know, let's keep looking. We'll find something good. Oh, man. I hate that.
They did make this play not as good in the new game.
But no, this is a perfect animation problem. Let's see. We'll go slow-mo. So he's out. There's no reason 37 should not make that play. In real life, of course. Like, he's already shed. He's clear of you. Like, that, he should be able to make a play on this, right? I mean, he's out. Yeah. But what happens? Oh, shit. He plays a release animation. So now he's in another. So he was in, you know, normal, like a looping or whatever. And now he just played another animation. And that other animation now has, whoops. He's still not in control of the game engine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no orange circle under him right now. There should be. Because if there was, what would he do? He would adjust his pursuit angle to go get this guy. But instead, whoop, it's too late. Now he's out. Now he can move. Oh, now I got to cut because my angle is too far, you know, like, and now I'm screwed. So it's just like, that's a good example of, if he's here, if at this point he could break out of this and have physical control, the AI could drive him, he would make this play. Or, you know, he would be able to make this play. You could obviously cut inside on him or whatever. But the fact is that, like, nope, he's stuck. He can't even come get you because he's stuck. That's one of the things that drives me nuts. And I just really wish that, you know, would get improved. I think you can even see here, like this nose tackle guy breaking off of the block, realizing that he has to. Yeah. Okay. This guy. He's like, I've got to disengage. Look where he runs. Straight right. Because that's all in animation. Instead of, like, I don't know, try and meet the guy in the pocket, you know, in the gap. So you end up with just a lot of that, where these little tiny ends, beginnings, transitions of animations are controlled by the animation itself, naturally, that if there was an underlying momentum underneath it, it would fix so many things. It would change the gameplay so dramatically, in my opinion. And most users might not even notice. Like, maybe it's only people that follow you that would get it.
Yeah.
But it would immediately feel so much more real, and also maybe not, like, maybe more fun, because it's like your controller will have way more input. Because it can maintain momentum and physics based on what you were doing. I think, like, that's one of my. I love NBA 2K series. I think what they've done is amazing, but I don't really like the gameplay that much because it's so animation heavy. Mm-hmm. Like, it is just playing cutscenes back to back to back almost of players, and it looks phenomenal. Like, it's no knock on that style, but I prefer my controller to, like, basically always be working
Yeah.
Like I like that style, and it feels like in today's modern technology, like you could do the best of both worlds. You can get the high fidelity animation while still having control and and user having control means AI has control. I think that's a lot of the thing that people don't necessarily realize. But like, if it feels like on some of your videos I've seen, the AI can't make decisions.
Right.
He's too stupid. He's not dynamic. He actually can, and he does. But a lot of times he's trapped in an animation. And so he actually made all the ones we've just looked at there. He made the decision to go pursue you, but he couldn't get out in time. Like he was just stuck. And it's like, that's the stuff that's like, come on, man. This used to drive me nuts 20 years ago. And actually 25 years ago, and it's still there.
You think the AI decision making is fine, because that's what I thought the issue was on those plays, but it's really the fact that the animations are supreme and they overrule everything, where in the past when you have that orange circle, it's actually the physics that are overruling everything and the animations catch up to that, where now it's the inverse.
Yeah, it's hard to say fine. I mean, I haven't analyzed Madden AI in a long time, right? But like, I know that they are very smart. I mean, it's better than anything I could write. These every defender has an absolutely insane amount of code, decision tree attributes, tuned over many decades now of intelligence that they can respond pretty well. Pursuit angles can be pretty good. All these things can be like really, really strong. But a lot of times the physics and momentum throws them off. Like it sabotages them. I think this is, if we look at this one, I think I just saw it. Look at this. What are you doing? What's he doing?
And the guy had to user to him, and it was too late.
Look at that, dude. Like, tell me in what world that is real. Like, why? And it's because he's like in a stumble, I guess. So he brushes against him. He's stuck in a stumble. And now he's playing a bunch of different cut animations. And then now he's in user control, and he's slow as shit because his momentum. It's just like, I don't know, man. Those are the things to me that, like, it would just be such a game changer. And I think what would happen and why maybe people didn't want to tackle it, number one, it's a huge change. It's like a massive change. But the other thing is that it will cause foot sliding, right? It will cause issues. And when you have this sort of era where, no offense to you, but there's like a lot of content creators that like to spend a lot of time picking apart bugs.
Yeah.
That'll be a new set of like, can you look how bad Madden is? His guy's feet are sliding all over the place. And it's like, yeah, but it also feels really good, and they actually adhere to the real true laws of momentum and physics. That's the type of thing that I would love to see, and that would be, I don't know. Again, will EA ever do it? Doubtful, but I would love it if they try something like it, because it's just a bummer. I mean, it's the same. 2K does it. They do it wrong. Or whatever, but it's a different game. It's so much tighter quarters that it's very different. Like, you don't need that as much tight control, I suppose.
Did you ever play Backbreaker?
I did. Yeah. That was I was a big fan of that team, and Torsten, the CEO, big fan of natural motion. And I always wanted that stuff in Madden. I loved it.
No, those tackles are beautiful.
Yeah. A lot of cool stuff that they did. But Backbreaker is a great example of, I think they did probably like true physics-based movement and momentum, and it always looked kind of janky, but they could fix foot sliding. Technology like that, where it would basically try and keep the feet grounded because that's what was pinning itself to the ground. Could fix if you had a more of a pure momentum. You could play animations on top and use technology like that to make it look cleaner or better.
Yeah, I always thought Backbreaker, if they had just made the camera perspective like a Madden, it would have been an amazing game that people will be playing to this day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was a weird choice.
Right, they didn't even make it an option. Like,
right.
It's so frustrating because we were that close to having. I'd be playing that game today because with the creation suite it had, you could create modern NFL teams and rosters and just play that forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like we lack a definitive football game.
Yeah, I mean the the feeling, the vibe of Madden and NCAA or college, they ooze. I mean, the new college, it's like, it's great. It feels like, oh, I'm so glad to be back playing college football again. I love the presentation stuff they did last year, but there's just some few things there that, yeah, like it makes it feel very similar to Madden 07 or whatever, Madden 08, because of these core little things. And so, you get people going, oh, I wish they would change the engine, or maybe it's Frostbite's problem. It's like, no, it's not really those sort of marketing buzzwords. It's really like the fact that animation drives the characters, not physics.
Yeah.
Physics applies over top of them. There are physics, I'm not to say they're like, people shouldn't take that as like the animation is entirely in control. It's not, but there's the source of truth is the animation, as opposed to the other way around, which I think would feel infinitely better.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just me, though. I could be wrong. I'd love to see EA come back and be like, Ian's an idiot. He hasn't worked here for 15 years. That would never work. Here's why. I would actually love to see them say that. Like, oh, okay. Then I'd be like, well, maybe I'm wrong. But that when you look at the game now, the things that drive me crazy, it's really that. And that's the part that I think would be a big difference maker is that change.
Well, how feasible, like, let's say EA watched this and by some miracle they're like, he's right, we're going to do that. Could they do that in a 1 year or a yearly release cycle, or is that going to take like multiple years?
It does take a lot of work. I'll show this for example. You remember Blitz 360?
Yeah, the downloadable one?
Yeah.
Were you a part of this?
I was there when they were making this. And so Mark Turmel is the creator of Blitz, came to Tiburon for a couple of years. And man, he's like the coolest dude in the world. I love him. He's like been a mentor for me for the last decade now since. And so they started this from scratch. They used a lot of Madden animations. I think they had some other mocap and stuff. But this whole game they built using the style I'm telling you about, which is, there's an underlying model underneath that they control, and then the animations have to play on top. Now, of course, they then can tune how fast what's your turn radius? What's your acceleration and deceleration? And so they make Blitz, of course, what does it act like? It's immediate, right? It's super fast. Mm-hmm. But you can get the idea, though, that like this can be done. This is an engine that Tiburon owns of, characters moving at the rate that the game wants, not the rate that the animation wants, to boil it down. So it can be done. I mean, they did it. This engine exists. When I say engine, it's just a concept of like that. That's a good example right here. This catch animation. If you can think about this is hard to think about, but that catch animation that just played, that animation in the developer's editor doesn't move anywhere. Like it's stuck in place. It's floating in space, and the guy is jumping, catching the ball. All of that in a single point in space. And the game is then saying, here's how far you can move.
Right.
Here, you were running this fast before, so here's how far we think you're allowed to move. And each one of those is tunable. And that is such a difference maker and I feel like probably a lot of 2K's gang tackling work that way. There's a lot of things that work that sort of like, we're allowing you to move this much, maintaining your previous momentum, rather than like play a new animation, and we're going to try our best to like slow it down or whatever. Like, that's I think the big difference. And yeah, so yeah, Tiburon can do it if they want it. It's a lot, of course, like every animation. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a 2-year job, or I don't know. Today's era of AI, maybe they do it in a weekend. Who knows? I don't know how it works anymore at EA for sure. I have no idea what their engine looks like in terms of the animation stuff. Did they change it all? But I know I see a ton of the same animations that were there when I was there. I see the way they translate and move, so it must be similar-ish.
Right. So 2K5 and 2K8, were those games similar to the old Maddens where the circle's what's being moved?
Yeah, let's take a look. All right. Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, man, that looked great.
Yeah, he tries to like recreate historical stuff that you can't even really do this in Madden the same way.
That looks awesome.
The throwing animations were amazing.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I wonder who their actor was. It's like a really solid.
Well, 2K, if I
quarterback.
remember in the credits, they had Brady doing motion capture, and they had Urlacher for
What?
defense. They were getting the best
Really?
players.
See, that's wild. Like I mean, we had real NFL players do a few, and they don't want to do anything. Like rightfully so. They don't want to get hurt.
Right.
So like you have to use stuntmen. But for quarterback stuff, I like the guy we got eventually. He was a Clemson dude. But yeah, the first few years I never really liked. It was like the talent was not very solid. And, ooh, that looked good.
Yeah, that's picked in Madden.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely picked right. Let's see if we can watch a few routes here or something. Yeah, they sure look to be cylinder style or circle style. Let's see. We'll do slow. They probably have a mix though, where like an animation can take over.
Yeah.
Why is it doing that? Here we go. But like, try and watch the momentum of him as he catches it. Slow down during it. Maintain momentum. See this route over here. Yeah, that's being steered by the game engine. You can definitely see it. So watch 80 as he makes his cut. The animation's actually not playing perfectly, so he's trying to cut right, but it's steering him a little bit. So that's how you can see that the game is moving him. Like
Right.
he's not playing, he's not perfectly moving. So the game engine is actually making sure that he keeps his momentum and his angle where the play design was for.
Yeah, the in and out routes in these 2K games were not at all like they are in modern Madden, where they would just always get open on the cut. You had to kind of win in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my all-time favorites.
So see another one here. Oh yeah, that was great. That
I mean,
cut.
this was done in 07.
Oh, this is okay. Yeah, this is 2K, like just rebranded with all the custom logos.
Yeah, with no NFL license. So this guy like custom made all these teams. He made like a 91 roster that you're seeing. And I wish another company would make a game like this. You don't need a license to make this game.
You just need lawyers to to deal with the
Right.
cease and desist.
I mean, they got away with this.
God, that pass animation looks killer. Dart. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, I would say if I'm guessing, obviously you can see a few of these examples where the game is clearly steering him a little bit. But they had a little, they had pops. Like everyone has little imperfections. Like watch 86 here. It seems like there's two 86s. That's weird. The other 86, this guy, he accelerates as he comes out of that little pop.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible. But yeah, they seem to maybe do a little bit better job just maintaining momentum across animations. And that's really the core. That's the key, man. Just like keep everybody. That's the thing. You could, if EA watches this and says, "Look, we're not going to change that core thing, but we're just going to make a focus on making sure that we always maintain momentum moving through animations." That might be enough. Like it's just clearly not a focus. Players speed up and slow down at massive, crazy rates. This should not be physically possible, and it makes the game like now you're always having to adjust for that. Like if an offensive player with a ball can do that, then the defensive player has to be able to react to that, incorrect movement, and now he needs some custom thing to be able to get and move around it. So anyway, let's get back to the old one. Play my fave.
Do you know when that
you
shift
can-
happened away from the cylinder?
That was 06. Yeah, that was the 6 movement.
So PS2 was the end of that.
Yep. And again, that was a switch to the engine that FIFA and Madden switched to an engine. So FIFA built an animation engine for their disconnected ball, their physics engine. And it was called ANT at the time, Animation Toolkit. But that was critical for them. They needed to be able to have the ball disconnected from the player animations. And so they had all this stuff to move the players around in a very different way than they'd ever done in the past. And there was sort of this like directive from down high. Well, like Madden and FIFA and everyone should share the same exact physics engine or game animation engine. And so we took it, and then it like just changed the whole game. It changed everything.
And that makes so much sense because, like, if you compare what we just saw with 2K8 to Madden on that PS3 era, 2K8 I feel like blows it away visually, and the PS2 Maddens have always been my favorite, and it's been hard to describe exactly why.
Yeah,
and I feel like this explains it.
It does help. I mean, like, and that's why I've always wanted to tell people about it. Is like because I bet a lot of people at EA don't know.
I'm sure. From what I've heard,
like the game engine. Yeah, the game engine is just the game engine, and they just never thought about it. And it's like, no, there's this core thing down at the bottom that, like, if you changed it, could really, really drastically make things different, feel different. And of course, it's so empty now because every year they're like brand new physics-based control and locomotion 2.0, and they have all these buzzwords that have said, but it's like none of them actually do what this would do. So now they got to come up with new flowmentum or some fake thing.
Real player motion.
Real player motion, and it's like, what? It's just added more animations. It's still not, the core is not right. So anyway, that's a diatribe. But I imagine your audience will like to know that sort of stuff because it is an interesting thing. And again, if you go look at the show or 2K basketball, like a lot of those games are heavily animation driven, and it's okay. But my personal preference, and I think most people would probably prefer, is that if Madden moved to more of a physics momentum based control, and like hockey. Not to say that it needs to feel like hockey, but that's how hockey feels. It feels freaking awesome. Your controller drives the character, not the animation.
Right. So away from gameplay now, back to like depth. I'm sure you remember the NFL head coach games that were being made while you were there. Those had a lot of features that were not found in Madden. Did you guys ever plan on like adding that depth from head coach into Madden eventually, or was that always meant to be a separate thing and keep Madden more simple?
No, I don't think there was ever a real, like, I'm trying to remember exactly the timeline on that stuff, but like, the NFL license, part of it was that there had to be multiple games that EA made. And so head coach 09 and Tour and Madden, right? Like, I think those are all the three at that time, maybe, they had to have three. And I think like internally, a lot of people really liked a lot of the ideas that coach was doing. They made a lot of innovations, I think, that, Madden ended up taking, whether it was like various stuff in Super Sim or I don't know, various logic things. The guy Josh Lumen was the main like sort of designer behind a lot of that. And so Josh came to Madden 10. He worked on it with me. And the idea was like, we're going to bring a lot of franchise mode stuff over, and we're going to make it more like head coach. But again, I don't really know what happened at the handoff, because a big thing that we were struggling with was that the core engine of franchise mode, if you want to call it that, the core system was sort of, just old and didn't work right. And we were going to redo it from scratch to support online, to support Superstar, like to support stories. There were a lot of things that we wanted to add over franchise over the years. And we had this separate team that we spun up that was like, write this thing from scratch, make it be designer friendly, so designers can add features, so we could create new moments in the calendar. Like it was built to be like, you could create, like, let's say you couldn't in the first year have some sort of, I'm trying to think of like a post-draft, feature or a mode or something where, whatever's happening, you could, in this idea, you could have a little module there that's slotted in after the draft. And like, that's a new feature that you plug in. And that was the sort of core team that we added. There's like 4 guys that were working on that. And I don't know if any of it ever, I don't know what happened after. I haven't seen any of it. Obviously, I remember seeing like fixed franchise being trending on Twitter and stuff. So I'm like, I guess you guys didn't roll with that thing, But I mean, that was sort of the idea, was that spin-off team was going to be on a multi-year approach and make franchise and Superstar and all the modes like one thing that could just be played from different perspectives. right? Like certain features wouldn't exist for certain people, but like the core underlying sim logic was identical, the core underlying calendar was identical, but like certain things would just not be shown. So it was just like a redoing of the tech to make it way more flexible and hopefully, last forever, as opposed to like, Madden franchise and Superstar were like totally separate code bases and stuff like that. I mean, there were certain things, but it was a lot of maintenance nightmare on those features back in the day. And so I don't think there was any like nose turning up at it, but I think probably what happened is just a lot of us OGs left, and then the new team, whoever was running it, maybe just thought no one cared. Like that stuff that when franchise came out and got blasted so bad, and that there was that video from Sean Grady, where he's like, "Hey guys, we hear you. We're sorry." I was just like, "What? How did you not know this?" Like,
and they still haven't really done that much since then. Like they had a roadmap they released, and I don't even think they did half the stuff in that roadmap.
Really?
Because that was Madden 20. We're at 26 now.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's just there's that sort of. I think again, Madden's biggest problem now is one of them is just that it's so big and now there's too many modes that are everyone's favorite. I'm sure they look at tons of analytics and stuff. I don't know for sure, but like, let's just assume they go to analytics and go, all right, where's most heat coming from? Who's playing which mode the most? And it's Ultimate Team, I'm sure. And people are playing that at huge rates and they're spending money. But then you have like this, probably 1 million people that are like the hardest of the hardcore fan, the purists like you and me, that, just want franchise to be awesome. And, it's just probably lesser in numbers. So they go, okay, well, we don't need to do as much on franchise. And it's like, no, you do.
I hate that.
Because they're the loudest. That's the thing too. Like, see, if you didn't do as much Ultimate Team, much few people were playing as opposed to franchise.
I obviously don't have any experience making video games, but I feel like if I was in charge of a game, I would have a vision for it, and it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, as much like what the majority of players are playing or where the money's coming from. I want to make something that just stands alone as a great product all around, and I feel like EA they just don't think of it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably fair. Again, I don't know the team now, but there is a decent amount of that. Like, what is the true core of Madden now? What's the vision of the core of Madden? It's too large to say that. It's like the wrestling games, or something. It's just like there's 1,000 features in them. They're too. So at some point, does someone go like, this is too big. Let's make this into 3 different games, or do we just stop giving a crap about that certain part? Let's delete that entire thing and let's just focus only on X, Y, and Z. It's just like. Yeah, it's really tough. I don't know. I have. I'll give this aside. Like, I have nightmares still. We'll call them nightmares, dreams, where I'm in the Madden conference rooms and they're like, "Dude, what are we doing this year? Like, what are we like? We got to ship and this, like."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we should do. They're like, we don't have enough time to fix franchise. Like, what should we do? And they're like, oh no. So I still have those, like, it's been a long time and I still have that burned in my brain of like being in a conference room trying to figure it out.
That's crazy. That's like having dreams you're in school and there's like a project due,
It's just like that. Yeah, that's like it replaced my like waking up naked in college and instead in a Madden boardroom.
So
God, this game feels so good, dude. The aiming of the passing, like I can like kind of target it a little bit narrow or short. It just feels like it's so dialed in. Let's just ship this thing.
These PS2 Maddens, they're just so snappy and fluid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I get where 2K had a lot of advantages, like no doubt about that, and we can talk about some of that stuff presentation wise, and obviously certain animations, route running, gang tackling, it was really good. But just Madden feels so good, feels so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might not know this, but I've been curious for the longest time. I have felt like in the newest Madden 25, when you're just navigating the game, when you make a button press, it takes forever to actually process. There's a ton of input delay. And
Yuck.
I feel like you can trace back these legacy problems within different game modes to Madden 13. And I've been wondering if the game has been Madden 13 with 25 on top, with 15 on top, with 16 on top, all the way to now. If there's just like over 10 Maddens running on top of each other, and that's how they make the game work, and that's why it's so big and bloated. Does that sound like a possibility or a likelihood to you?
No, it's not that. No.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the bigger problem, man, is they delete all that stuff. They delete too much stuff each year, right? But no, the game itself is always a fresh new copy. There's not like a bunch of like that situation there specifically of input delay and input lag is like just someone not optimizing, whatever function is called, or not processing button, not prioritizing that, not noticing that. There's a lot of that happens in games or apps or tech. Is there someone on the team that's kind of got that like crazy eye to notice that stuff? A lot of people don't notice it, and you think back to like Steve Jobs or folks like that were just like hyper focused on UX and speed. It's just like it takes people's that are really into that to notice, and so it's really just that. It's like, because by default, as you add more animations and visual effects and more code, everything slows down. So you have to take that time to go, oh geez, let's make sure the input happens, and let's animate the thing right away, but then do the load. Like, you have to do those decisions as a programmer and as a designer, specifically, because if you just say like on the button press, do the thing, that doing of the thing can take a while. So a lot of times you have to stage it. You go, okay, well, let's go ahead and react on the screen. Let's immediately make the button animate, make the transition happen. We'll do that immediately. Then we'll load. And if there's someone that's on the team that's not really paying attention to that, or if there's no one on the team that has that thing, then it'll just ship sluggish. And that's just sort of like how it goes. There's a video I'll try and pull up of. It always reminded me of Steve Jobs, the first iPhone presentation. Mm-hmm. He highlights like one of the most minor details, and it just gave me like a view into his psyche of. See if we can find when he actually does he actually demo it on this one.
Well, that eye for detail is what makes great things, and
yes,
I feel like why would you even be a developer of video games if you don't have an eye for that sort of thing? Which might sound harsh, but like, if you're making the only and exclusive NFL game, like, shouldn't you be hiring like the best people with the best eye for detail?
I mean, that's a valid, stance, I guess. Yeah, you should. You should, but it's a big team, man. And like, who's on top of that? Like at the core. I don't know.
Is that the issue? The leadership?
Yeah, right. It would be who's. Yeah, I would think so.
Who is leadership? Like, what position is that? Like Andrew Wilson, like CEO of EA, or like somewhere in between? Is it a higher up, someone at like a corporate office?
So I mean, I don't even know who's the creative director now. Do you?
Isn't Clint Oldenburg, or he might be the gameplay director?
Okay. So Clint. Yeah, so Clint's the highest up on the team, but then he'll likely report to maybe Cam or one of the executive producers, right? And I don't know. Cam's probably a VP or some sort of. Cam was an executive producer when he joined. When I left, he joined, and so you've got like the guy. Clint's in the trenches with the team, and he has tons of people to report to him, and he's obviously gameplay focused. So he's probably got a guy that runs the UX and the UI team that reports to him. Because he's focused more on he was more maybe like me. I focused a lot more on gameplay, and I gave Josh franchise and stuff because I just didn't have time, or and Donnie I gave online ratings. It's like you just trust those guys to do their thing, and you pick your target. Now, like I probably wasn't the best leader across the whole product because I was so interested and focused on gameplay, right? And so there's probably better leaders since me or out there in game design and development that can, maybe have a better wide look at everything. But like I barely on Madden 10 like franchise, I barely looked at. I'd just be like, Josh, you got this, man. He knows it way better than me anyway. It's like I would go and I'd sit in on meetings and I'd have little suggestions here and there, but like for the most part, it's like, yeah, he runs that. So that's typically how when you have these big teams, because each of those modes has, 5, 10, 20, 50 employees underneath them. So you kind of have to have a lot of delegation across those things. And yeah, maybe something like, input lag or delay on the screens is maybe that's a problem of there's no owner of the whole thing. Maybe it's like each team is doing their screens for the gameplay, for the MUT, for the this, and so then there's no one like at the top. It's like, wait a minute, we've made all these screens laggy, or they go tell that team, hey, your team, franchise team, your screens are too laggy. Like I don't know. It's just hard to say without being a part of it to know like what's exactly the drop or the the miss.
It sounds like EA needs a Steve Jobs type.
Don't everyone does,
right?
That's the problem. Yeah, I want to see like I think I found this video. It's like he's scrolling the phone, and I don't have the audio or whatever, but he's literally talking about the inertia of the swipe.
Yeah.
And like so he's talking here like see how nice that slows down, see how nice that and I think he even does one where he does the sort of drag down and it bounces back. And I was just like, man, he was really in the details. Like he was in the weeds like that as a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. And he clearly like that was what he cared about, was that the scroll inertia felt right on the scroll view. So yeah, it's just like, that's awesome. Supposedly he was a total pain in the ass to work for, too.
Right.
And everyone hated him, but yeah,
everyone hated him, but they made good stuff. I remember when I was a kid, I can vividly remember my stepdad got an iPhone like 3GS. I was blown away at the fact that I could just scroll with my finger without accidentally clicking something, because I was used to like a pressure sensitive touchscreen rather than a heat sensitive touchscreen. And all those little things that, the average person might not even think about or realize, it's why they're so comfortable using an iPhone.
Right.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Even if people don't notice the little things, subconsciously it's giving them a better experience.
Yep.
So what was your favorite Madden that you worked on? Was it 10? Was it 05?
Definitely not 10. I think 04 and 05 were definitely my favorites. So 04 because it was my first, and I really, we talked a little earlier, but like I was one of the only people on the team at the beginning of the cycle. A couple people had left, and so I just really got this major crash course in like how to make the entire game. Like they would just throw everything at me, and I was so willing. I was a sponge, so I would do playbooks. I did motion capture. I did cameras. I did presentation. It was like everything. I did the play call screen, audio. We were picking the songs that were in the game. I mean, it was just like all of a sudden I'm this 24-year-old kid in charge of almost all of the decision making of Madden, this game that I had grown up playing. It was absolutely awesome. And then add to that, we came up with Vic and Playmaker for Vic. And Vic came to the studio. He threw passes to me.
That's great.
I mean, it was like, holy crap, dude. I mean, it was just like absolutely unbelievable. So that was an amazing year. But then 05, we had a larger team and the game got a lot more balanced. You had hit stick, like the radio show. There was a lot of fun stuff that we built that year. And it was probably, in this turn, this is what we're looking at, just more of a complete package. Whereas 04 was maybe like a little unbalanced, of course, because of Vic, and just various other like little things. But I would say it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, 04 was obviously a special place in my heart, and Madden 04 is such a very, very, very fun game to play. That I think 05 is the better game, but 04 had a lot of magic for me personally in it, I suppose. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff in 04, like I had my hands in, making and owner mode and all that stuff. So that was pretty great.
So you've mentioned the kicking animation in modern Madden is the same one that you motion captured.
That's right.
Why isn't EA doing new motion capture? Why are they still using 20-year-old animations?
They are. I mean, they clearly are, but they just haven't prioritized that one. I just saw, let's see, it's 26 gameplay. I think they changed it.
It does look different in College Football 26 for the first time.
But I don't think they recaptured it. I think they like hand keyed it, probably because they were mad that I was bitching about it.
Oh yeah, because I did mention that in my reviews.
Did you? That's funny. Let's see, like if we can see a kickoff.
And I know people there watch my reviews because I get, I'll keep them anonymous, but there's developers working there that they DM me.
Oh, nice. Let's see if we can see a. I need to find a kickoff. I want to see one, and then we'll see if what did they change, and I can tell you. But yeah, I mean, they clearly. Okay, here we go. We're here. They do tons of new motion capture every year, but it's just sort of like, to me, one of those symbols of like attention to detail, I guess you could say it, or like, have a little bit of extra. You're already there. Go capture a kicker. All right, that's my stance. That is me. I know that. Okay, so this is 26, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my run up for sure. That's my kick, dude. Yep.
It's still there?
I think so. Let me see. Let me make sure. Did they change, or did they just change it a little?
You should get royalties for that.
No, dude, that's me. That's definitely still me. That's wild. I know. I should have signed some deal, a likeness deal, NIL on my kicking animation. So yeah, they might have changed it a little bit. They might have modified it from the previous year. Let's see if we can look at 25. So it's just it's just one of those things, man. It's not like a big deal. It's just like why not?
Well, you see the kicking animation every game. That's like you see it to start every game.
Yeah, there's my stance. You can see that's the same stance. Okay, they did. I think they changed the end.
Maybe they've got like two different versions depending on the kicker.
Maybe, but that one's definitely me. Yeah, we could get a little side by side breakdown and see. Yeah, I almost like destroyed a $70,000 motion capture camera when I shot that animation too. There was like a big net set up in front of me, huge net, but I had to angle it a little bit right. I was a soccer player, I knew how to kick, but they couldn't put it directly in front of me because I would run into it. And so it was like I wanted this nice smooth animation of me kicking it and following through, right? Because that was my complaint when we captured this back in 2005 or whatever. It was like the previous kickoff animations in Madden. We'll look at one. They were like there was no run after. Mm-hmm. So this is the previous. This is not me. Can I kick? Here we go. Yeah, we can't see it, but no follow through. No, and so I was like, all right, well, I'll get one with the follow through. So I need this net out of my way. And so they moved the net just to the right. So I got to aim a little bit right. And of course I miss the net. And I just bomb this thing right at a camera. And those things are like, 60, 70 grand. And I hit the truss like about 3 inches to the right of it. Shook it, basically ruined the shot because it uncalibrated the whole setup in the machine when I rattled it. But I was like, they were looking at me. They were so pissed. I was like, oh, sorry. But we got the move.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is the old one. I just felt like, this one's lame. He didn't even extend his foot.
I mean, why can't they get a real NFL kicker to motion capture some kicks? I mean, how long would that even take?
It's just cost, I guess, right? Like, well, an NFL player it's probably not worth it. Just go get a college kicker that,
Yeah.
pay him $1,000 and you're done. And you never have to change it again. Or at least once every 20 years. So,
Unless they added signature kicking animations for every kicker.
yeah. You could have like a straight on guy or a soccer kick or.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I always hear this excuse that EA doesn't have enough resources to, like, for example, do that motion capture or add this feature or work on franchise mode. Is that accurate? Like, are they, or at least when you were there, like, were you guys tied down financially, or was time more of a constraint than anything?
That's a good question. I mean, you obviously only have so many people on the team. Like, I don't know how much Madden makes now, but like, you're trying to keep your development budget under some number, $50 million, $20 million, $100 million. I don't know what they do now, but if Madden's going to spend $20 million on marketing and $20 million on the team, for example, I don't know where they're at. That's probably 10 years ago, 20 years ago numbers. Let's say they're going to spend $50 million on marketing, $50 million on the team. That's only so many people for so many months, right? Like when you do the math, so there's definitely a limit there. But in today's era, if I had a team of 200 people, I feel like I could build anything. It's like there's something rotten when you have teams this large and it's still kind of letting everyone down each year. Like there's something wrong. There's no excuse to not be building the things that people want when you have that many people. Mm-hmm. Like that's, to me, feels purely an alignment issue on, doing what people want, doing the right vision, not throwing stuff away each year. I think that's one of the biggest problems, is just that most great games take like multiple years to build, multiple revisions. Like go back to think about any hit, whether it's Uncharted or Assassin's Creed or anything. It's like it takes a while for that engine to kind of settle into place and get really good. And then you start building off of that core. And it feels like there's just been too much thrash in the Madden world where they spend a ton of resources on, a long shot or, you name it, right? Like the yard. And it's like, but that did take resources away from the core game. And a lot of times there's this sort of like, well, the artist that makes player heads is not the guy that fixes the cylinder movement, right? I get that. But like the guy that could do the cylinder movement, he probably had to do a bunch of work for the yard, like for custom animations or whatever, right? Like, so there is crossover there.
So the marketing team always pushing the back of the box feature, that's pretty much taking away from, the core game.
I think so, to some extent, right? I mean, again, I'm not in these meetings, and this is a long time ago since I have been, but like, let me look at Madden 26. Have they announced everything yet? Is like everything sort of announced?
Yeah.
All right. So if we look at Madden 26 features, oh, good. They have a page. Good look at it. Okay. Built from Sundays. Good. I like that. Right. Good start for me.
It's the right day of the week.
A correct start. But I mean, I like that because it's now like not something out of nowhere. All right. Cool. AI-powered machine learning system trained by real play calls and game situations to deliver more explosive gameplay. That doesn't make any sense to me, but all right. New coach and player-specific traits. Uh-oh. Why? What?
So you don't like that?
Why? Authentic play styles. Okay, I like that. AI is better, right? They play more like themselves, like that. But what's the new traits? Okay, starting to start to get a little bit like, wait, what? Okay, so let's go to explosive NFL gameplay. Okay, NFL quarterbacks move, look, and feel more like superstars that they are. So custom animations, all right.
Everything every year is just more. It's just more improved. But what are they actually saying?
Adaptive counters, okay, because custom zones, gross. More mechanics. not a fan. Okay. Doesn't sound all that great, but now let's go look and see like a Madden NFL 17 features. Oh,
Yeah,
gone.
Page is dead. You got to find like a different website.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia is pretty. It's not very in depth on Madden games, which is a little frustrating.
A new path assist. New ball carrier UI prompts help teach moves available to you, while the new path assist helps you navigate and anticipate downfield.
Get those on-screen tutorial pop-ups.
That's gone, right?
I mean, it's still there if you're on like rookie, where it'll just say like hit juke now. You know.
Pointless.
Yeah. Like, how is that making the game better?
Right. So I mean, that's the type of stuff that's like, I don't know who picked that. If that's marketing, if it's a creative team, I don't know. But those are the perfect examples of like they're just add-ons. There's more mechanics. There's more stuff shoved in there that now someone's got to maintain. And if you wanted to dedicate your gameplay team to physics and momentum, they're like, well, wait a minute. What about the ball carrier path? You know, prompts or whatever. It's just like it's so big. It's too big. That's the thing that is just too large to make any meaningful stuff. So that, I don't know. That's what I would say.
So this is a question I know a lot of people have been wondering for a long time.
Oh shit!
Oh, big run.
Get it!
Gone.
Look at that, dude.
Doesn't that feel so good?
Took 30 delay games and they still got it. 99 yards.
Dang.
Let's go.
So when you worked at EA, you guys had the ESPN license. EA bought it where 2K had it first, and then EA had that license. I know it was in college football, but how come in Madden back in like 09, 10, 11, 12, why wasn't the ESPN license really used if EA had it? You know, like the scoreboard, the presentation, the commentary, all those things.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I obviously don't want to get in trouble if I say something wrong, too. Not that I'm worried about like a issue. It's like, I want to say our talent was not ESPN, right? Like, who did we have back then? Was that Al and...
Oh, back
Gus
then you
Johnson
had Gus Johnson and
Collinsworth.
Collinsworth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, those weren't ESPN guys.
But why were they even picked if you all had the ESPN license, you know?
I think it was the other way around. Like, someone signed ESPN to EA, right? Wasn't it across all the games?
Yeah, it was on college football.
Yeah. So that was what happened. EA signed the deal, but Madden already had contracts with other people that couldn't be changed.
Okay, so that makes sense.
So it was like they could have probably said, "Oh, well, actually, we're going to do." I'm trying to remember. It's hard to remember the timing. Did ESPN have Monday Night Football back then? I guess. It's like they always do Sunday night or Monday night. I guess we could have said, "Well, Monday night games get, their guys."
Oh, that would have been awesome.
But I think that was probably purely just like, well, that's going to cost way too much money and time just for literally that one thing.
See, the problem there is the people that grew up playing 2K5 and they love that ESPN presentation, 2K5 gets killed off, is no longer allowed to exist, and then they don't get a replacement for that, and yet EA owns that license. They bought it right after 2K5.
It does nothing with it.
Right. So that's just it's so frustrating to so many people. Then if EA's decision is, oh, that's not worth it, that just pisses people off because to so many people that play the game, that is 100% worth it. That would almost make the game for them, That authenticity of it's just like a real broadcast.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would fully see the frustration on that. Like you should, I think at some level, EA people probably were not super thrilled with. ESPN taking over as a brand the way it did in 2K5. Like there's some heavy bravado within the EA organization of like we want our brand to matter more than, you know what I mean? Like, than it feeling like a game that ESPN made. It's like, no, they want it to feel like an EA game, and not a ESPN game. So yeah, that one where they bought the license and then kind of didn't do shit with it. That kind of sucks. I mean, I was there too, but I just remember that like there was no option, if I remember right. It was like, I don't know what we can do with it. Because I think even like the extra point, that was EA branded, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was like, I think we asked around and was like, oh no, you can't do that. So like, can we just make it like Berman, or, you know, can we do it exactly? And no, can't do that.
And who decided that? The executive producer?
Probably, or legal or marketing. I don't know. Who knows? Harder. I can't remember, to be honest.
Well, I've got beef with whoever that was.
Yeah, right.
So when you worked at EA, how much attention would you pay to like Operation Sports forums, like community feedback? I guess that was the main source of it before Twitter and things like that. Like, would you have your own vision and that was more noise, or would you try and kind of cater to what people were saying, or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, so I think, you know, if you ask some of those original OGs that were on OS back in 2009 or whatever, it was a pretty electric, fun time for me. So when I started at EA, the paperwork that we signed said, you know, you're not allowed to go on forums. And when I got the creative director job, so right as 09 had shipped, basically, and all of the leadership of 09 basically like left. It was not a good year. I got that job, and the forums were just on fire. Like, people were like, what the hell is this game? If you remember, 09 removed sliders at launch.
Yeah.
And that was a huge, massive thing. And then that was like the pitch. Oh, we're going to have AI. We'll adjust the sliders for you. You won't need sliders. It's like the craziest decision.
Right.
And so I jumped on the forums, and I was just like, hey, guys, I'm Ian. I just got the job, taken over. We're going to get sliders back in a patch, you know, ASAP. And I'd love to talk with you guys about this year's game. You know, let's chat about it. And so before I knew it, like, I was on Operation Sports every night, all night. I'd get home from work. I would share what I was doing. I'd tell them what I was working on. I would take feedback, you know, like I would show like stuff from inside the engine, you know, like inside the animation engine. And so then I went and told my boss at the time, Phil, and then he started doing it too. And before we knew it, like, we had really gotten something really exciting going. You know, all these people that, like, you know, it was such a frustrating thing to be like, you work your ass off for a year, you release it, and they just hate it. And I just thought, there has to be a better way. Like, they could at least know something's coming. Like, they should be involved in this process, like, so that they're not surprised, or that so that I could hear from them what's their most important thing before we get out, you know, and like, can we knock it out now? And I would share spreadsheets and stuff of like, here's how the tuning's looking. Here's how the year one franchise stats look, right? You know, what do we think? We made a tuning pass. Josh did this, you know, what do you think? And I found that to be really, really addictive. Like, it got to be a point where I was just like really loving it. And there were a few snafus. Like, there were things that I said there that got quoted in like newspapers and stuff that I shouldn't have. And there's a lot of learning, like snafus when I say within the EA org, they were pissed at me.
Yeah.
And because I was just being pretty open. But eventually we went to like our studio head, Philip Holt, and Phil and I just said like, look, just wanted to let you know we're doing this right now in case you get swiped, but like, we think this is a great approach. It's been really like empowering, and, you know, the community seems to really dig it. And because I think we were asking for budget to fly like some of those OS people down to check out a new build. And he was like, hell yeah. He was like so pumped about it. He was like, I love it. This is great. And before too long, it was like that spread is sort of a lot within the company. Like, oh man, you guys should be doing what Madden's doing. Those guys are like in the trenches with the community, and I think Game Changers got spun out of that, but who knows what that does now. But there's a lot of that, like we're going to go direct to them and talk directly to them, and once Twitter came around, though, right around that same era, like maybe a year later, then it got to where like every asshole was like giving me death threats. Like that's where it started getting negative. But like the OS community, they were hard and they were, sometimes like mean, but it was always like mostly respectable. If somebody went over the line, they get banned or whatever.
Right. There's moderation where modern social media, you can kind of just do whatever.
Yeah. So I really love that, and it's funny. Like, so anybody that's watching, if they're curious what I've been up to, right? I've been making horse racing games for like nearly a decade now, and it's been that same methodology though that's been what's drawn me to it. Is I've got a Discord community. I talk to them like all the time. I build the game for them, with them, and it's really like a weird dopamine. Now, of course, they're the same as the Madden people. Like, it's so funny how they just like call me an idiot, or they, it's like in horse racing, it's the same. Like, they don't have videos like you, but like if they were content creators, they'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can't believe what this idiot Ian did with the horse genetics or whatever. And it's so funny.
The tail physics.
They're just wrong. Yeah. And it's like, but part of the fun for me is that, like, oh, well, because it's like, who am I making the game for if not for the fans, And I get this huge dopamine thing too of like, if I do something well, and they see it and they enjoy it and they're sharing it and they're talking about it. And so that really got me through those Madden years where I was getting to where my day-to-day sucked, right? I'm like in meetings all day and it's just sucking, but I would come home and chat with the boys about, the stuff that we were tuning or adding or fixing. So I don't know what they do now. I don't know if they do any of that stuff with OS, but I definitely put a lot of stock in a lot of those guys. Now, some different than others. Decisions were still mine, but at the end of the day, like I really wanted to hear from these hardcore fans much more so than like the tournament online community. I wanted to know from the purists, these guys, the old guys that had played it since they were kids like me. What were they missing, in their online franchises? What did they do? So more of like the Rich Grisham, the Pasta Padre, the folks that like really were, they played the game a lot. They had very meaningful feedback, even if it hurt. You got to get in there and like listen to them and chat it up with them. And then of course, like by being a personal face with them, that lessens their hatred a lot. Like they understand that I'm a human. I've got kids, or here's what I did this week. And you can understand, I think what happened many years prior is probably what's happened with you. Like you just have to speculate because no one tells you one way or the other. Is this game like this because they did this? And it's like, I was at least always enjoying like, no, here's why we did it. And you can agree with it or not, but like here's what's going on, behind the scenes. It's just like that's so much more fun making a game like that. A lot of studios don't do it because it can be pretty taxing on your psyche.
Yeah.
When you're that close to your consumer. But I don't know. I always just for some reason was really drawn to it. I really love it, and I do it today. So go download Photo Finish Live, play. Come play the ponies with us. We're betting on real horses. We're betting on the Kentucky Derby. You can do that in my community now. You can yell at me in my community now if you want about horse racing.
I got to check your game out. It sounds intriguing. I got to check it out.
It's interesting. It's like a head coach for horses.
That sounds really cool. I've never really.
But for real money, you can win real money.
Oh shoot! That's it. Yeah. I got to check that out.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a weird one, but that's kind of what it is. It's a head coach for horses.
Interesting. So, back to Madden and EA. Back in the day, the games you worked on, there were a lot of historic game modes. Like you had things like classic teams. You had moments. I really liked the moments in Madden 10, for example. Mm-hmm. Why has that been abandoned in Madden? Like. Old Maddens in 2K5, they had those moments you could play from history, the classic teams. Today, the only way you can play with historic players is by opening packs in Ultimate Team, and even then, they're not on their original team in the original stadium with the original gear, etc. Why is this no longer a thing? Is it not realistic with licenses, or are they just not bothering?
Yeah, I think it's licenses on. Well, so let's first, so Madden moments, like if you wanted to add a feature where you play the best moments of the previous year, That's a pretty simple feature. They should do that, and they should update that every year. Like that should be a thing. The pain in the ass of that mode was always keeping a separate copy of the teams. You know what I mean? Like you had to like keep. You couldn't like do all the player movement because now all of a sudden it's like out of whack. You had to actually, like, oh shit, that's right. You had to freeze the previous year's team database and player database and have that only for that mode, which I think probably that's what happened why they ended up cutting it, because that was always a pain. And it shouldn't be that hard, but that's maybe why they cut it. The historic stuff, I mean, that probably happened around, geez, I'm trying to remember. There were quite a few lawsuits. Of course, there was the NCAA one that, you know, killed college.
Yeah, Ed O'Bannon.
I think the Ed O'Bannon, but I think there was even a Jim Brown one or something with Madden that was a similar, right? It was like, is an old team with the number, you know, a likeness or not? And I think after the NCAA one, probably everyone was just like, all right, hell no more historic teams. Like, let's not be a part of this anymore. And it's such a bummer because that used to be my favorite way to play. Like when I played all the Genesis and PlayStation games, I always did the 86 Giants and the 90 Giants. Like that was like my thing. I just love that. I love Lawrence Taylor. That was like my favorite player. That was just like what I always did. And so when those started getting stripped out, it was a bummer. But like, yeah, I think they likely had, I'm trying to remember what year they got a license with the Hall of Fame. And maybe that would have been, maybe 11 we did that, where we got a Hall of Fame license. And then started getting individual players for Ultimate Team. And once you do that, now you can't really have other players without doing without paying them, right? It's like if you're paying Dion, then you're not going to be able to get by with like the rest of the Niners or the rest of the Falcons without paying them if you make that team. So it just gets to the point where like, yeah, you can't. Monetarily, just like there's no, I don't think it's not, it might not even be money, it's probably time. Like you can't get that many people in a given year and having to renew it. It's just not feasible to license that many historic people and players.
Right, with a 53-man roster, it's a lot. But what I've always thought is take the licenses they have in Ultimate Team and use them to fill out classic teams for like a moments mode or something. And then just fill the rest with generic players. I think people would rather have that than nothing. Yeah.
I mean, if you did all Madden teams from the past, right? I mean, that was always fun. Like just or various all-pro teams, all-star teams. Yeah, you absolutely could do that. If you've got a license to the player, then you should probably use them more than just an Ultimate Team, right? Get more out of it.
I feel like these video games, you know, they could be a museum, an interactive museum of the history of the sport. And instead it's just... It's nothing like that, but that's what it could be, you know? People that are young and they didn't watch the NFL in the 90s, the 2000s, or even older, the leather helmet era. Imagine being able to re-experience that through a video game. I feel like that's what video games are for.
Yeah, we did a patch in 11, right? With the AFL.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mode. And we did like the sepia tone and like we did all this like, you know, period era stuff. I love that. Like I was a big fan of doing all that. And like those are the things that I also agree. Like that was it 2K13 the Jordan year?
2K11.
11. Okay, where they had like all the moments of Jordan. I mean, that was like, oh, what a love letter again to the fan. Like that's just so great.
Have you seen their My Eras feature? Mm-mm. So in recent years, they had a feature where you can start a franchise in any era. So you could start in the 80s with 80s rosters, uniforms, stadiums.
All the players?
Most of them, yeah. They have the starting fives. And even the broadcast would change. Like they'd add like a grainy filter in the older games and update the scoreboard in each era. And like whenever you go to the next year, if a team was actually in real life their uniform was going to update, you could override that if you wanted to and kind of like create a butterfly effect. That's awesome. In the 2020s, that's like really the only true innovation I've seen in sports games.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing we could talk about is just like, I really wish someone was available to make a licensed sports title that doesn't release yearly.
Yes, yes.
I just wish that was a possible thing. Like none of these current ones, like rightfully so, it's too risky to sabotage hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But like, if I could start an NFL game tomorrow, and there's not a year, and it's called Ian's NFL Football, and it's just a subscription. It's $10 a month, and you're gonna be along for the ride. And right now, it's gonna be this. It's gonna start with this, but by next year, it's got franchise, and the next year it has this. But on next year, it's like next month it might have this, and next month it might have that. Like, oh, I would love that, and I would actually love to build something like that. But obviously, but alas, I just think that would be so much more fun for the fans. Like it would attract a different number of people. Like everyone gets excited about new rosters are dropping, but like you could still do that same thing in a subscription game. You're like, hey, guess what? We're going to update the rosters, and you could update them way earlier. Like once everything's sort of locked in place, everyone's all excited for the big drop on whatever Friday night.
Yeah,
where everything's updated. So yeah, I don't know. It'd even be kind of cool to see, if you kept it in line. If it was a subscription, you're keeping it in line with movement that's happening in the off season. So as people are playing their game, it's like, oh, okay, this free agent thing happened. It's like that happens immediately in the game, and now like you're seeing that guy in his new uniform before anybody else.
Yeah, and the game could be a good tool for people to just keep up with what's happening in the off season as well.
Yeah. Draft happens. You're like right there. You're seeing it. So yeah, I don't know. It's so much scope and crazy. I'll never do it, but it would be cool.
So I've been curious. Let's say someone like me, doesn't have dev experience. They're just following tutorials, trying to learn how to use like Unreal Engine or Unity. How feasible is it for like an individual indie dev or someone new, someone in school learning game design, to create their own football game that's on par with gameplay that you see here in Madden 05? Mm-hmm. Is that even realistic?
Probably not. Someone new, like, gameplay on par with this game still comes with a huge amount of table stakes. As I say, it's like there are, thousands of animations in this game.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get those?
Right.
There are thousands of plays. Who's going to make those? Not counting all the jerseys and the textures and the stadiums and the all that stuff. Like, but just if you had just an empty stadium, come on, Kurt Warner, damn it. Jeremy Shockey, he was my go-to tight end in fantasy football for many years. The underlying problem with football too is it's the hardest game to make. I think the hardest sports game to make because of to make a sort of core playable, because there's so many different nuances and assignments for each person. Like zone versus man and the different types of zone, different types of man, all the different route running, blocking. Like every single person on the field has his own like little game he has to run inside his head with the other guys, and you can get away with a lot of other games by not doing that. Like you could make a baseball game where everyone's kind of playing their position, and then they just go into a pretty static like statement of things they do when a ball goes somewhere. Mm-hmm. They don't really need this like clock running of constant decision making, especially something that's built off of the play choice. So it's kind of one of the most complicated. Soccer is another one. It's just like you kind of play your position. That's pretty simple. You stay around your area, and once you get the ball, it's like shoot, pass, dribble. It's not that hard, and everyone's decision making tree is relatively similar compared to a decision making tree in football. So it's really, really, really hard to make an arcade game. Like a Blitz. Definitely easier, where the entirety of the defense is just kind of like chase that guy, or like a Tecmo Bowl style. Like those you start getting much less scope. But if you get into 3D with playbooks, your scope is massive. Like the difficulty of a pursuit, for example, of like players trying to predict where a ball carrier is going to go is very hard. Trying to predict where a ball is going to land, very hard. Trying to decide whether you try and cut the ball off and pick it off, or swat it, or just play the receiver, try to hit him very hard. Those are like really, really difficult things that are just core to every single play, much less then of course like the controls of the ball carrier and juking and moving and spinning. Just like the scope is so wild. And I was kind of interested in making like an arcade football game around 2013, 2014 after I'd left EA. And I prototyped some, and I think I spent like a couple weeks on just trying to make passing good. And I was like, man, forget this. Like, this is just, I'm going to go make a horse racing game. That's seriously what happened. I was like, horses are a lot easier. Because it just, it's really, really complex. Now, a team of 3 guys, 5 guys or gals, you pick off pieces and parts. That game that's now, I guess it's Maximum Football now. Was that the one that used to be Doug Flutie?
Yeah, but it's a completely new game now. They like sold the naming rights.
Yeah, but that originally, the Doug Flutie, that was just one guy. The guy David, he built that by himself. Special brand of psychoticness. So it can be done. But he was a programmer. He did that all in Unity, I think. He was a programmer at EA on FIFA, I think. So, it could be, but like, brand new guy, motion capture already a huge hurdle to get, that's a lot of cost and then cutting the animations up and doing all this stuff. It definitely would be a lot. So, I feel like with all my experience and I know that every inner working of every part of a football game, it would still be a year of working heavily on it to get it kind of up and running, barely, and that would also mean somebody had to pay for all that mocap, which is definitely a big problem. Like getting tackles in mocap is like tens of thousands of dollars, just to get going, right? So yeah.
Well, have you heard of the game Sunday Rivals?
Wait, maybe, let me see. I'm trying to remember. People reach out to me on these random ones, and sometimes I can't remember.
I have a video on it. You can look it up on YouTube if you want to just look at the gameplay real quick and kind of say what you think. But that game was made by one guy in 2 years. I've talked to him. And it's probably the best, most polished one-man football game that I've seen. It's very arcadey and kind of cartoony looking, but it works. Like you'll see here.
Oh, yeah. Janky.
Yeah. But it's one guy in 2 years, And, and he works for Bungie. It's like his hobby on the side.
Wow. Look at that ball, dude. That's wild.
So this is the best I've seen. I feel like this looks better than like the old Maximum Football or Axis Football.
Well, it's because you leaned into that style, right? I mean, that's that's smart, I guess, because then it's like, who cares what tackles look like? Who cares what animations look like when it's like blocks, when it's Minecraft-y? It's better than Minecraft, of course, but like, I'm thinking more of like a game that looks like Madden 05.
Yeah.
I mean, look at these animations don't line up. Nothing's lining up. It's all just playing weird clips. But like you say, it's like, who cares if it's fun as this style, like a Blitz style, then hell yeah, go for it. So yeah, I could build this game in a year.
Okay, you should make a game. You should make another football game. I think people would be really intrigued.
Get my horses. I know. I would. It always has. Like when I play Madden 05, like on my little emulator, or when I play here with you, like the way that character feels, I always want to I just want to remake.
Yeah.
Just a test bed of a character running around with a ball and feeling like that, because it just feels so good, and I want to reproduce that magic, and then that's it. Like that's where I'd stop. I don't want to deal with zone defense or pursuit angles or any of this other crap, but just controlling a character in that way would feel really good. I did a game jam at the beginning of this year for the FIA, it's the University of Central Florida, like their sort of video game design program, and we joined, and so it was like we made a game where you're stuck in a theme park at night, and animatronics come to life, real creative. But I spent basically a day straight on just this little pixel art character and how he feels on the controller. Adding deceleration and acceleration and like a roll move and all that stuff. And it was just like, oh, I love this. It felt so fun, especially I've been working on these horse racing games forever. And so, yeah, I've always wanted to like maybe get back and like an Oklahoma drill, right? Just that's it. That's all I build. A little Oklahoma drill. That would be really fun, but you need the animations, man. And I don't want to go mocap it.
Right.
Does anybody have any? If anybody has on this thing, and you got a bunch of football animations, hit me up and I'll make something. But I don't want to go capture it.
Have you seen that varsity high school game?
No, no, that interests me. So that was a big thing that I like was working on for a bit. So
You search
I'd be curious. What is it?
YouTube, Varsity. It's just called Varsity. It's made by some of the people that were like maybe producing the old Doug Flutie game, but the animations in this, like, look at that. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But they've only got, like offense only clips from what I've seen.
Okay.
It's still in early development.
Spear Interactive.
Yeah, they were a part of Maximum Football, but they weren't. Dave Winter is not part of this.
Okay. Got it. Oh, route running looked all right. Catching looks all right. Passing's a little off. Yeah, motion looks good, though. Not bad.
Yeah, I think they paid and did some motion capture.
Yeah, it's definitely mocap.
So I've had my eye on this, but, will it be the Madden killer? Probably
No,
not.
of course not.
What I really want is a game like Backbreaker or 2K8 again, and I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's one of those things, too. Like, let's say that NFL says, all right, you know what? Or exclusivity's over. Like, I would imagine there's going to be quite a few teams that are like, hell yeah, let's get in that.
Yeah.
But would 2K? I don't know.
Well, they're not the same as they used to be. They're more predatory than EA when it comes to microtransactions in their game.
Yeah, I wonder if they do it. They've obviously got that engine, but I'm sure that thing's really old.
I'll take it. I'll take that engine.
Most people would be fine. Yeah. It's a fake. Oh, damn it, Eli.
Yeah. So when it comes to AI in game development, do you think is that a net positive? Is that a good thing that's going to keep being used? Because I know there's a lot of critics of AI that think it's like, stealing from artists. It's not real. Blah blah. Like it's ruining the environment. There's a lot of people that hate AI, and if you say your game is AI, it kind of almost creates a stigma that bothers a group of people. But I wonder, with tools like AI as they keep developing, Claude, the way they can code and whatnot. Does that make it more feasible for a really small team to make something like what you're playing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what is the important part. Is that people use AI as a buzzword of like EA just did it. It's AI driven machine learning play calling.
Right.
Not when I think of AI now. When we think about the open AI and the large language models, like I still am programming every day for third time, on our horse racing game and products. And I use AI all day, every day, multiple AI agents building stuff for me all the time. I've been able to, grow the company in ways I could have never done before and add features that I've never been able to do before. I was actually, I laid people off, unfortunately, that were replaced with AI. And so it's a major, huge change steamrolling downhill at all of us as game makers and programmers and creators. And so I look at it as I better get on board and utilize it and try and be the best at utilizing it before it replaces me, How do I make it work for me? And so, I've made the joke now of with the team members that a thing I could try to do on my side time, which I don't have any yet, but if I ever had side time, is I could probably make a GTA with a team of AI agents. It's like GTA is impossible to make because it's a content machine. It's huge. Like the amount of content's insane.
Right.
But that's what AI is amazing at. It's just like churning out tons and tons and tons of content. And so like the core of GTA, when you step back and think about it, is like you usually just drive somewhere and kill people and drive back somewhere else. It's kind of it. And then there's all this other stuff going on. There's this world that has been created painstakingly from the team. And it's like, that's an era now that like that world could be created offline by AI. It doesn't have to run in the game engine. It can be like you set up a team of 10 AI agents and their job is to create neighborhoods. They just sit there and chew through work. That's what they're amazing at. And so when I think about a game like a football game or something, I mean, yeah, I would be able to, if I was creating a Madden 05 from scratch, I would be using AI agents all over the place because I'd be asking for help with physics and things that are really hard, trigonometry, or, the wind, or play calling. Like I could definitely set up an AI agent that goes and scrapes NFL data and draws up all the plays. Those types of things you would do for sure, right? And it could make your game better, and you could do it with a small team. So I think that type of stuff is absolutely. If people aren't using it, they're really missing out, and it could open up a whole new era of games. I think there's sort of this worry that like it's just going to turn into a huge slop fest, which is already happening. Like there's a lot of just like AI made slop, but good engineers that open their mind to it can now become superhumans, sort of. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I'm able to create so many things that I couldn't do before, and do them at a rate that's insane. Like, within a day I can create 12 times as many things I could do before. So yeah, again, if there was a chance for me to like start a studio or take third time and say, all right, yeah, we're going to make a Madden 05 style game. It would help a lot. Like it would help a ton. AI would be able to do a lot of the grunt work, and open up a lot of these things that would normally just be like, all right, forget it. There's no way I can do it. It can get a bad rap, but no, you better get on board. It's happening no matter what.
Yeah. So do you think in your lifetime you'll make a new Madden 05 type game from scratch? Is that on your bucket list?
I don't know, man. I'm getting old. I'm 45. It's like I have like weird moments where I want to try something like it, because it does feel like it's sort of a natural, like I would get a big community of people around me. They would be excited. We would build it together. All the things I like. Mm-hmm. Who knows if it would even be like a monster success or a Madden game killer, but it would be a little slice that everyone would appreciate and enjoy. I would entertain people with it. That's what I like. But I got a lot going on with the horse racing biz. I have my own partnership, so I've got my own NFL to deal with, which is Churchill Downs. So it's not like I could just start working on some random other thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's always somewhat interesting. There is a motion capture studio here in Orlando, like literally 5 minutes away from my office right now. And so I've definitely thought about like making some prototypes, but who knows, man?
I think my entire audience would be interested in that.
I would say never. Yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting play because not to even say it could make like millions of dollars or anything. It would be like, I bet enough people in the community would pay me a salary to mess around with it for a while and make them something cool.
It would be more satisfying than a money maker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not going to kill Madden. It's just the biggest problem is the license, man. I mean, like I could make a great gameplay. I guarantee I could make a fun playing, player control thing. But like without the NFL teams, like who cares?
Well, you put it on PC, people will mod it. It'll be good to go.
I know. It's just still like, then I get sued by the NFL.
You won't get sued. Otherwise, Axis Football and Maximum Football, all these other companies would have been sued. Unless they have, and I'm unaware.
They probably have. Probably got cease and desist. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I do miss this era of games for sure. And I think what was the baseball game that came out a couple years back? EA acquired them, maybe.
Super Mega?
Yeah, it's like there's appetite for like sort of, just bite-sized, slightly different, Not to say I would make an arcade game. Like I wouldn't make Blitz. I would make it more like this. But it's just like you can make basically a little slice of a game that's still enjoyable, right? It doesn't have to be like, well, this doesn't have owner mode, it sucks, even though I'd probably do owner mode too. That'd be fun.
Well, yeah, the Sunday Rivals dev ran into that where he worked on the gameplay for the most part. It doesn't have a franchise mode, and his whole community is just begging him for a franchise mode, begging him for online play, things that the game isn't even really built to have,
Right. Yeah, they're just jonesing for another product. That's another one AI would kill it on franchise mode.
Yeah.
Oh man, AI would be like, I'd always thought there was an interesting sort of poor man's way to do franchise mode is actually just download the stats of every team for every bit of history and then like work backwards on the way that those stats were calculated, kind of a thing. Because that's when everyone's complaint is like you basically train your own model on the way stats work in real life.
Yeah.
That's what happens is like you'll end up in franchise and it's like, what the hell? Kurt Warner passed for 8,000 yards. Like what's going on here? And it's like, that's where you could do AI training to make it all like super realistic, and it would also be less work.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, that's usually where my mind goes. I sit here and I'm frustrated with Madden. They have the exclusive license. It's just not satisfying to me. And my options are either just go play old games with old rosters or try and do something with my own hands. I make these videos hoping they do something. I don't know if they do. I wish I could just make my own game, even if it wasn't successful, even if no one bought it. If I could play it and enjoy it, that's enough for me.
Yep.
But it's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. But you're telling the story of like what happened to me at EA, right? I mean, I was like, I was there, Madden 04, Madden 05, doing all these designs. I loved it. But then Madden 06 came along and I felt like I was so hamstrung. Like I wanted the game to be better and I couldn't do it. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to learn to code. I'm going to change it all myself, which was too much of a task. But it was very empowering, and obviously changed the whole trajectory of my career to be able to build my own studio,
right,
and make my own thing.
Could you show some of that your horse game? Could you show some gameplay on the screen?
Cool, yeah. So happy to show you photo finish. So the background here, like as I said, I left EA. I actually worked at Zynga for a little bit. And just got burned out working for people and thought, okay, I'm going to make my own game. I tried to make a football game briefly and was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Too much work. So I actually thought around the time, like, well, horse racing seems kind of easy. And I looked on the App Store. There really wasn't anything very good. And so that was actually my first game in 2014, 2015 was this game called Photo Finish. It's, let's see if I can find... Oh, these are bad searches. Photo Finish Classic. Maybe that helps. Oh, I'm in Brave. That's why. Photo Finish, horse racing. Yeah, I just wanted to show you. It started as a mobile game, basically. There it is. Yeah, so this was my first mobile game, and it actually really took off, like surprisingly. I released it not really expecting much, but it turned into a multi-million-dollar game.
Wow.
Build a studio around it. Had 15 million downloads, and so I just built a studio around it and have been supporting it. And so then in 2021, I was like, man, what's up with all this crypto stuff? Like, what are all these NBA Top Shot? What are all these people like doing in crypto? And we had made some horse racing stuff, and I thought, it would be really cool if our horse racing game had real money in it. And so we kind of like dug into crypto and how we would do that, and effectively kind of redesigned this game. So this is Photo Finish Live, and I mentioned before, it's kind of like a head coach. So it's a managerial game.
Yeah.
And you own the horses. Every horse in this game is owned by real people. It runs on a calendar that's all shared. So like, these, you can see down there, season 31, right? So we're 31 months into this game basically so far. So it's much more like what I said, like a subscription. It's always live. It's always being updated. There's no yearly release or anything. And these horses in the game are aging along this timeline in this shared timeline. So there's sort of this natural turnover, just like real horse racing, of like all right, I can race him for a season. He gets a year older. Race him for another season. He's a year older. Now he starts getting crappy. Do I retire him? How long do I race him? And you get into the sort of long-term meta of breeding. And so a lot of these people are breeding. They're breeding with each other, in a weird way to say that, of course. But they're paying each other to get the virtual semen from their horses into their own horses. Yeah. So bizarre. But I think we've had people make over $200,000-$300,000 selling virtual horse semen. We just had a player reach 1.25 million in earnings. It's just a kind of crazy amount of money going on in here, and at people kind of competing at the very top level. So they're buying, they're selling, they're trading, they're racing, but all in a managerial way. So it's kind of scratches that head coach or daily fantasy itch, rather than being like a Twitch game. But yeah, all these, you can see a race, is coming every few minutes. Like there's a race going off. I think we've had just tens of thousands of races run, and you can see, they look as every bit as realistic as I could try and make them. They use the cylinder model, so real momentum underneath, no animations.
Yeah.
And basically there's a lot of like Madden inspiration there. I think people might enjoy that. Obviously your audience might like to play it, or really just thinking about I don't really care if they play it or not. It's really more like there's a lot of lessons. Like we have attributes underneath the hood, all the stuff just like Madden. There's all these different. There's just a lot of things that formed me as a kid. The attributes. Looking at my Madden manual, and so it's kind of a cool like little journey. And yeah, so even if you're into horse racing or you're not, it's one of those managerial games where you can kind of just kick in a little bit of time if you want. You can have one horse racing. They only race once a day, so it's sort of a slower pace. Gentleman's game, I suppose. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty. It's probably the deepest game I've ever made in terms of like genetics and breeding and attributes and these things, real money, scheduling. But at the top level, it's like kind of simple. You just own a horse and you race it. But it can go deeper. So it's got some of that sort of franchise feeling,
Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And you can bet on these races too. So there's a lot of, and hopefully soon, even more places will be betting on these races. There's a lot of fun stuff going with it. So yeah. Anyway, back to Madden. Oh, look at that guy.
Tom Coughlin.
Was that Coughlin?
Yeah.
The ghost of Tom Coughlin.
Did you guys sculpt all those coach faces back then?
God, how did that even work back then? I think there was just, in the 05 days, there was no sculpting. There was only a single model, and you had to make it look right with a texture. Damn it. So, like, you couldn't change there would be a few heads that you could choose from, and then you just wrapped a texture over it. Whereas nowadays, of course, they're like, it's the model and the texture are both sort of custom made for the coach or the player. But yeah, it was a different era. It was so much less complicated before shaders and all the sculpting came into play. It was much easier. But part of it.
So if someone watching this, they're young, they want to learn game development, they want to become a game dev, they want to make their own video games, what advice would you give them as someone with a ton of experience in this field?
Yeah, I mean, there's no better time than today. It's sort of unprecedented that you can not just build, but release something all by yourself. That's amazing. Like, when I started, right, like let's say I could somehow figure out how to make a game, which there was no way. There was no engine to make a game with, but let's say I did. It's like, who's going to publish it? Now you can just put it out on mobile. You can put it out on PC. Anybody can put it out anywhere. So that's really empowering. I would start with, there's lots of tutorials on Unity or Unreal Engine, and you can make something really simple. A lot of people fall into the trap of trying to build like the ultimate game. they're like, all right, I want to make a game, so I'm going to start with a RPG Zelda killer, and it's like, don't do that,
Yeah.
make a coin flip game, like to start with the absolute minimum scope to learn something and get it working, and realize that there's a lot of work in the minutia. That's funny. I mean, you said it, like, are your buttons reacting quickly on the menu? Like that takes time. And so you should get into that mode of like, perfecting small slices of entertainment before you go, okay, what would be cool? I'm going to make an Assassin's Creed game. It's just like that. That's what a lot of people do. I'm going to make a football game. It's like, no, don't do that. If you're going to make anything, start really small. Maybe it's just a ball carrier running around a field. That alone should take you weeks or months to get feeling good. So, make a game where you have to go run to targets and pick them up. That alone is quite a bit. So, keep your scope small. Use the tutorials. Use AI. There's just so much out there now that you can learn that you couldn't before, and you can ship it. So, if you can keep your scope small, there's so many success stories of people putting out games by themselves now. Sometimes they make their scope huge, but Factorio or Manor Lords or any of these like little niche games that are just amazing. That it's just one person just like grinding through it and starting with a little idea and just continue to iterate. And then, if you're the type of person that is meant to be a pro game developer, you will get that obsession. You will get that passion that you have to finish it. And if you're not, it's not for everyone. Like, I try to get my son to make games all the time. Try to get him to make stuff in Roblox. I mean, that's the other thing. There's Roblox, there's UEFN, there's engines that you can jump in and ship something right away, like super easy. And he just is like, nope. The moment you get to the grind of like moving stuff to be the right height or something, he's just like, this is boring. This sucks. So he doesn't have it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get it, but he doesn't have it yet. He's still like, as much as I'm always hammering him to like look at the details and appreciate all the cool things, he doesn't have the patience for some of the stuff. So it's not for everyone.
So outside of the horse game, is there anything else you've been working on since you left EA? Or is that pretty much the main thing?
So, yeah, I mean, I spent a little time at Zynga. I spent a little time at FanDuel. So I was actually working there, like working on some real money games. And that's where I started getting interested in sort of the skill-based stakes stuff. I mean, not too much. Honestly, running third time is a lot of work. We have 15 employees, and we've been doing, we have 2 mobile games and the web game. So that takes up a lot of my time. I've done little prototypes, little game jams, play music, here and there. I've got 3 kids. So my calendar is always pretty jammed and pretty busy. But no, I haven't done too much. No, we just helped launch a product that's betting related, but it's still based on the horses right now. And that's called Bet Vibe. But if people follow me on Twitter or something, it's third time Ian. You can see what we're up to. But for the most part, it's like starting around, getting the core of the horse racing game dialed in. We're many years into that. And then starting to expand the features out, building more where people can loan horses, people can bet on the horses, people can bet on other sporting events. You can kind of see my mentality is replaying itself really tight on that little small core, and then start to expand it once you find a group of people that dig it. Once you find your people, and our Discord community is 20,000, 30,000 people. And it's very, very similar to the Madden days, like just, almost identical.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun.
So I guess one last question.
Mm-hmm.
What would your ideal NFL game be if you had an infinite amount of resources, the biggest team in the world, all the licenses paid for every player ever? It's probably a very open-ended question, but maybe you could just pinpoint a few things you would want to do if you had that opportunity.
Yeah, it would definitely start with that, the core of like, if I had that much infinite stuff and I've got a big team and we're ready to go, it's like the very first thing is going to be the on-field experience for me. That's what I'm going to focus on the most. And so when I say love letter, that's where we're going to go. Like all the historic stuff, the right equipment, the right stadium, so all of the things to make it feel and ooze the NFL. It's going to boot up with the NFL Films tracks. It's gonna have highlights of John or whoever we got the license to if it's not John, but it's gonna ooze the history, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s of the sport, and the core on-field gameplay experience. I think is just like ultra critical to be responsive, high momentum, great physics, and then also everything around it, like everything around the sidelines should feel perfect. Like they should all have their own AI and brain. They should be waving you down the field as you run past them on a kick return. As you go crashing out of bounds, you should knock all of them over and drink trays and, like a dynamic, organic environment, that you live in that is always different every time. That would be where I'd start. And then, I would go into the sort of stuff that we started to make while I was there, this modular career mode engine that hopefully anyone can plug into and make events and make stories and do phases, create a cool draft, create a high presentation, but like the same way Photo Finish has this sort of ticking clock calendar and stuff is happening every day. That's what I would want a career mode to be. It's just this like fresh new experience every day. Online, I don't know, like that's obviously Madden's big thing, this competitive online game. People want to play against each other online, but that can also like devolve into just kind of nasty leaderboard disconnect, hating, all that stuff. Like it becomes a big distraction.
Yeah.
So I would almost focus at the beginning for sure on like the offline, the love letter for all of us boomers and millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Yers that loved football games in our past. That's where I would start. That'd probably be enough,
That would be awesome. That sounds amazing.
Someday, right?
And I mean, even just the NFL Films music, man, I don't know why they took that out of Madden. It just adds so much.
Oh, yeah. Is it not there anymore?
Nope.
Yeah, I know we talked earlier. I haven't really played a Madden in quite a few years. I played college but last year, but I typically will play one once every 3 years. And then like, same stuff's there. Momentum's not fixed. I just sort of kind of, I'm a single issue voter.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, and yeah, again, maybe I'm wrong. It's just like, that's what I care about, being super close to it. So until they change it, then I kind of don't care. Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on. That was a really cool interview. Really insightful. I think my audience, they're really going to enjoy watching this.
Okay. Yeah, I hope so. I hope I don't get in too much trouble with EA. It's all out of love, EA. So you Tiburon folks, the Tiburon folks, they grind their ass off. People hate on them. People hate on Clint. Clint's a great dude. He's super smart. He freaking played in the NFL. And it's like, there's just too many things to do. It's too hard. It's too big. So if I'm EA, narrow your scope. Stop listening to the random requests. Delete all these weird requests and just focus on the core and make it great. Make the core great again. And then it'll all be great. It'll all be fine after that. So, that's my 2 cents. And kudos to them. I love a lot of the guys that are still there. Like Donnie Moore is still one of them. He's like the best human in the world. He's such a good dude. And been grinding out EA for 20 years. Larry Rehart, Ryan Ford, these guys have been there forever, and lifers. And so, they want the best game. I know that for sure. So I wish them well. I wish them the best, and hopefully they can, make the best one this year. I don't know. Maybe this one's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe Nick. Maybe they did all this. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe they already did all this, and I'm looking like an idiot. But maybe it's next year then. If not. So yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.